Chapter 2084. In the boundless universe, there would usually be 100-fold difference between the two adjacent minor levels of each major cultivation level. Logically speaking, Murongyu's battle prowess was only at the 4th level of the Genesis realm, while the deputy leader of the World Destruction Gang was at the 6th level of the Genesis realm. The difference between the two should be at least 10,000 times. With such a huge difference, Murongyu couldn't possibly defeat him. However, this was because he wasn't an ordinary person. If his battle prowess had only reached the 4th level of the Genesis realm, this might have happened. However, he was a soul cultivator. No matter how powerful the World Destruction Gang's deputy leader was, his soul wasn't strong, and he couldn't block Murongyu's soul attack. Most importantly, his power had been frozen. Even if it was only for an instant, it was enough for Murongyu to take his life. Pooh! After a muffled sound that couldn't be heard, the World Annihilation Gang's Vice Master soul was shattered by Murongyu. The intense pain almost caused the World Destruction Gang's deputy leader to faint. However, he didn't faint. On the contrary, due to the intense pain, he regained control of the power in his body in an instant. Thus, in that instant, the power in his body exploded. First, it formed a shield of power in his body, protecting his body. At the same time, a torrential wave of power rushed out violently, wanting to kill Murongyu. Murongyu didn't feel flustered. The other party's counterattack was within his expectations. After all, his battle prowess was 2 minor levels higher than his. With a thought, the Shadow Step Palace he'd obtained swept down and blocked Murongyu's path. On the other hand, Murongyu firmly stepped on his opponent's shadow, refusing to let go. Boom! 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 The weapon fragments violently bombarded the other party's body, and the impact caused the World Destruction Gang's aura to become extremely violent. However, because the other party's shield of power had already taken shape, the weapon fragments couldn't hurt him. At the same time, the other party's power had already bombarded the Shadow Step Palace. Shadow Stepping Palace had the defense of Heaven Tier. Therefore, the World Annihilation Gang Vice Leader could only watch in despair as his power was completely blocked by the Shadow Stepping Palace. He was unable to harm Murongyu at all. In fact, what he didn't know was that when his power bombarded the Shadow Step Palace, Murongyu's soul power was also fiercely burning and being consumed. The Shadow Stepping Palace could explode with the defense of a Heaven Tier warrior, but it would consume Murongyu's soul power. Therefore, there was no free lunch in this world. If you want to get something, you have to pay a certain price. Holy Soul / 9 symbolic words. Since physical attacks couldn't do anything to the other party, he would use the most vicious method, soul attacks. The Vice Leader's soul had already been severely damaged. However, under the interference of his power, Murongyu's soul attack did not cause much damage. The power of Shadow Step. Murongyu's other foot stomped on the shadow of the World Annihilation Gang's deputy leader. The power of a Shadow Step surged out like a raging tide. Whoosh! The World Annihilation Gang's deputy leader was instantly met with tragedy. Under more attacks from the Shadow Step, he had already regained control of his power, but he was once again immobilized. Holy Soul / Holy Soul / Holy Soul / In an instant, Murongyu attacked 3 times in a row. With a bang, the World Annihilation Gang's deputy leader's soul was no longer able to withstand Murongyu's attack and was directly chopped into pieces. A powerful existence of the 6th stage of the Genesis realm had fallen just like that. When Murongyu killed the World Annihilation Gang's deputy leader, Little Lowly and the Giant Panda had already cleaned up the rest of the World Annihilation Gang members. Not a single one was left alive. It's the Holy Lord. From Murongyu's appearance to the annihilation of the World Annihilation Gang members, everything had happened in the blink of an eye. At this point, Shengzhen's group finally saw Murongyu's trio clearly. They didn't recognize Little Lowly or the Giant Panda. They only recognized Murongyu. Thus, all of them started to worship Murongyu. In an instant, the power of faith in Murongyu's body skyrocketed. Perhaps the invasion of these people wasn't a bad thing? This thought suddenly flashed across Murongyu's mind. If not for the World Annihilation Gang, he wouldn't have so many believers. However, he would rather not have these believers than be invaded by other forces. That would cause many lives to be lost. Moreover, you wouldn't be able to rush back in time every time. Big baddie, let's go and wipe out this world annihilation gang, shall we? These are all big baddies. Leaving them alive will only cause trouble. Little Loli carried her giant axe and looked like she wanted to give it a try. You glared at little Loli. Why was this person so murderous? Although he also had the same thought. Just like the Lin family, if he didn't eliminate them completely, they would come again next time. However, he still didn't know what kind of existence the World Annihilation Gang was. Although he could kill a 6th stage of the Genesis realm, that was under the circumstances of a sneak attack. What if it was a 7th stage of the Genesis realm? You had a feeling that even under the circumstances of a sneak attack, he might not be able to kill the other party. Moreover, the World Annihilation Gang's leader's strength and treasures weren't something the deputy leader could compare to. Just as Yu was pondering whether to destroy the World Annihilation Gang, a sense of danger suddenly appeared in his heart. That feeling didn't come from him, but from his friends and family. However, Zhao Jiqing and the others were all in Hichu Luo Shu. They shouldn't be in any danger. Then, it could only be Murong Xian and the others. Could it be that something was going to happen in the Holy World? Murong Yu's expression changed slightly. If it was Mo Wu or Xing Yu who had taken the Holy World, they shouldn't be preparing to break through after being injured by the skeleton last time. Then, as for the Tower Master of the Magic Light Tower, Qin Yao. Back then, Murong Yu suspected that Mo Wu, Xing Yu, and Qin Yao had taken the Holy World. Could it be that Qin Yao is preparing to break through? Murong Yu felt a strong sense of danger. The Holy World still had Murong Xian and the others. Even without Murong Xian and the others, Murong Yu didn't want to see the Holy World being refined by Qin Yao. There was no time to lose. Murong Yu immediately released Zhao Jiqing and the others from Hichu Luo Shu. Then, he took the giant panda and the little Loli to the Demon Sealing Galaxy. Qin Yao's Magic Light Tower was one of the top 10 factions in the Demon Sealing Galaxy. Murong Yu easily found out where the Magic Light Tower was located, Planet Stygian. Planet Stygian was where the Magic Light Tower was located. The entire planet's surface was light blue. Looking at it from the endless starry sky, it looked extremely magnificent. However, Murong Yu didn't think this was the original color of Planet Stygian. The light blue was just the light emitted by the formation that enveloped the planet. The entire planet Stygian was enveloped by billions of formations and restrictions. Apart from Magic Light Tower's method of entry and exit, no one else could get close. Therefore, there were no other disciples on planet Stygian other than Magic Light Tower. Murong Yu stood in the endless starry sky and looked at the light blue planet. He could feel that the Holy World existed on this planet. However, his connection with the Holy World was very weak. Qin Yao should have completely sealed the Holy World. Formations and restrictions were unable to stop Murong Yu's footsteps. Sensing the danger, Murong Yu didn't hesitate and directly entered the mysterious Pearl Star. After entering planet Stygian, Murong Yu secretly read the memories of a Magic Light Tower disciple. After learning about Qin Yao's residence, he walked straight over. Qin Yao's location was the most heavily guarded place on planet Stygian. This was because it was the most important place in the entire Magic Light Tower. Magic Light Tower's treasury. Not only were there billions of formations and restrictions outside the treasury, there were also countless Magic Light Tower experts guarding it. Only the Tower Master of Magic Light Tower had the qualifications to cultivate inside. Qin Yao chose this place for his seclusion every time. This time, Qin Yao announced that he was going to break through here. Therefore, Murong Yu only needed to casually find a disciple of the Magic Light Pavilion to learn of his existence. Qin Yao was indeed breaking through. Murong Yu concealed himself and arrived outside Magic Light Tower's treasury. Looking at the layers of security, he frowned. Murong Yu was confident that he could avoid these experts, formations, and restrictions. However, the treasury only had one tightly shut door. If Murong Yu wanted to go in, he had to open the door. Once he opened the door, it would definitely alarm the experts of Magic Light Tower. If Qian Yao was alarmed, it wouldn't be easy for Murong Yu to take back the Holy World. I have to think of a way to sneak in. Murong Yu is thinking of a way. Right. Why do I have to barge in and not directly teleport in? Suddenly, Murong Yu slapped his head. He could clearly sense the existence of the Holy World now. As long as he could sense the teleportation point in the Holy World, he could use Hichu Luoshu to teleport in. However, the Holy World was already sealed. It was a little difficult to sense the teleportation point inside. However, it was only a little difficult. It wasn't impossible. As a result, Murong Yu concealed himself and quietly sat down at the entrance of the treasury. He carefully sensed the teleportation point in the Holy World. However, after half a day, he still couldn't sense it. Let's first contact the Holy World and the origin of the Holy World. It should work. Murong Yu changed his method and continued to sense it. After half a day, Murong Yu finally made contact with the origin of the Holy World. Old Sage, open the Holy World. I want to teleport in. Murong Yu directly ordered the Old Sage. He was the ruler of the Holy World. The Old Sage would definitely listen to him. As expected, the Old Sage happily agreed. After all, the origin of the Holy World didn't want to die. However, Qian Yao was in existence at the peak of the creation realm. It was still a little difficult for the origin of the Holy World to break through his seal. However, the origin of the Holy World was unwilling to be refined by Qian Yao. As a result, it immediately contacted Murong Xian and the others in the Holy World. It wanted to use the power of all the cultivators in the Holy World to break Qian Yao's seal. Chapter 2085. Within the Saint's World. This was because no one had attempted reincarnation before. In fact, they had even attempted to do so. As a result, no one knew that the Saint's World had already been taken away. It was no longer in its original position. In reality, the cultivators who had never left the Saint's World had no idea that the Saint's World had been taken away by someone. As a result, they had always carried out their daily activities like normal. They had no idea that danger was approaching them. This was because the origin of the Saint's World had never told anyone about the Saint's World being taken away. At this moment, many people in the Saint's World had already reached the peak of the exalted stage. Their battle prowess was comparable to Chang Tian's. However, they all clearly remembered the dangers of attempting reincarnation. As a result, none of them took the risk. Instead, they constantly tempered their strength. The Saint's World, Shenzhen, Sacred Hall. Murong Xian and the other peak experts of Shenzhen gathered there. They all had extremely solemn expressions. Do you think it's true? Has the Saint's World been taken away by someone? Murong Xian glanced at everyone present and asked in a deep voice. The people present were Murong Xian, Murong Yi, Murong Yin, Duan Muqing, and so on. Not long ago, they had all received a message from an existence called the origin of the Saint's World. It said that it needed their help and that they should all help together. I think it should be true. Otherwise, the origin of the Saint's World wouldn't have sent us such a message for no reason. Murong Yi said after some thought. The others nodded solemnly. When the origin of the Saint's World sent them the message, they had already begun to believe it. However, this matter was just too shocking after all. They did not quite believe it. However, as cultivators, as powerful cultivators, they did feel that something was amiss during this period of time. Nothing had happened in the Saint's World, but their hearts had become much heavier. A vague sense of danger enveloped their hearts. It's better to believe it than not. If this matter is true, we definitely can't allow the Saint's World to be destroyed like this. We have to give it a try, regardless of whether it's true or not. Murong Xian finally made the decision. Origin of the Sacred World, come out. What do you need us to do? After making his decision, Murong Xian looked at the origin of the Sacred World in the sky. Whoosh! A figure appeared out of nowhere in the hall. It was the person conjured by the origin energy of the Saint's World. You don't have to do anything. You just have to circulate your power. I need to borrow all of your strength. I'll give you a day to convince all the cultivators in the Saint's World. The origin of the Saint's World summarized his plan. All right. Murong Xian immediately agreed and quickly gave the order. Right now, Shenzhen was the absolute greatest organization in the Saints world. And this time, Murong Xian and the others used Murong Yu's command to issue orders. Thus, in less than 2 hours, Li Qiye had already arrived. This order was spread throughout the entire Holy World, God World, Immortal World, and Cultivation World. Of course, Murong Xian and the others were not stupid enough to tell others that the Saints' world was about to be destroyed. They only said that Murong Yu would be coming and needed everyone's help to break through to a higher realm. And once Murong Yu became stronger, those who had helped Murong Yu before would benefit greatly. When Murong Yu stepped forward and heard the news, the majority of the people believed him. Therefore, all of them started to circulate their strength. It was the same in the Saints' world, God World, Immortal World, and Cultivation World. One could imagine how terrifying Murong Yu's influence was. As the origin of the Saints' world, the old sage controlled the entire Saints' world. He even controlled some of the cultivators. It was just that he could not control all the cultivators. Therefore, when all the cultivators opened up their strength, the origin of the Saints' world could directly borrow their strength. Rumble, at the same time, the origin of the Saints' world directly absorbed the strength of all the cultivators in the Saints' world. Therefore, an incomparably terrifying strength crazily became the strength that the origin of the Saints' world could borrow. Mysterious Pearl Planet, Magic Light Pavilion's Treasury. At this moment, Qian Yao was sitting cross-legged in an independent space, and beside him were fist-sized balls of various colors floating in the void, slowly rotating. There were at least billions of them. These balls were the various planets that he had plundered to reach the peak of their strength. As long as he refined all of these planets and absorbed their origin energy, he could possibly break through to the heaven realm in one fell swoop. Wong. All of a sudden, an azure ball burst out with a dazzling radiance. The first thing Qian Yao noticed was that something was amiss. However, when he opened his eyes and looked at the azure planet, there was nothing strange about it. The dazzling light had already disappeared in a flash. Qian Yao was shocked. These planets had all been sealed by him, so how could they still cause trouble? Therefore, he stretched out his large hand and grabbed the azure planet. The next thing he was going to devour was this azure planet. Very clearly, this azure planet was the Saints' world. The reason why this planet flashed was because the origin of the Saints' world was absorbing the strength of all the cultivators in the Saints' world, and it was exposed due to a lack of control. Seeing the Saints' world being taken away, the old saint was very nervous. He knew that a tragedy was about to happen, so he could only pray that Murong Yu quickly come in and get them out of here. Going back to before, when the Saints' world flashed with a dazzling light, Murong Yu, who was outside the Saints' world, suddenly connected with a teleportation point in the Saints' world. Murong Yu, who was already prepared, immediately activated Hichu Luoshu's teleportation. Shua. Without anyone noticing, Murong Yu had already charged into the Saints' world and appeared in the Sacred Palace. The experts of Magic Light Pavilion and even Qian Yao didn't notice anything. Murong Yu, Qian Yao is going to refine the Saints' world next. You have less than 2 hours. As soon as Murong Yu appeared, the anxious voice of the Saints' world's origin sounded in his ears. Murong Yu's expression immediately turned solemn. There's less than 2 hours left? Time was tight, so Murong Yu stepped out of the Hichu Luo Shu. Father, Sacred Master. The moment Murong Yu appeared, Murong Xian and the others were stunned because they hadn't seen Murong Yu in a long time. However, he quickly came to his senses. However, after they reacted, their hearts became incomparably heavy. Didn't Murong Yu's return mean that the origin of the Saints' world was telling the truth? I'm sure you all know the reason. I won't say anything unnecessary. What I want to do is to get the entire Saints' world out. Murong Yu glanced at everyone and went straight to the point. Father, can you put all of us into your interspatial artifact and bring us out of here directly? Murong Yi asked with some hope in his voice. They all knew that if the Saints' world was really taken away, and Murong Yu had entered using this method, it meant that Murong Yu couldn't take the Saints' world back from the other party. Since he couldn't, He could only give up on the Saint's world. He just had to take all the cultivators away. With Murong Yu's current cultivation level, taking all the cultivators in the Saint's world was just a matter of the blink of an eye. Murong Yu definitely had the ability to do so. However, Murong Yu shook his head. Even if he took everyone into the Hichu Luoshu and left the Saint's world, as long as the Saint's world was refined, they would definitely die. This was because they hadn't passed through reincarnation. Without passing through reincarnation, they wouldn't be able to leave their original planet. Once their original planet was dead, they would perish as well. He had to take away the entire planet. There were two ways. One was to directly snatch it from Qian Yao's hands. The other was to refine the Saint's world into Murong Yu's small world and take it away. Murong Yu was more inclined to the latter option. Once the Saint's world became his small world, Murong Yu could transfer all the cultivators in the Saint's world out of the Saint's world without the trouble of reincarnation. Reincarnation was actually a kind of rule. It was a rule set by the master who created the small world. This was because many people created small worlds to help them increase their strength. The more cultivators there were, the stronger the cultivators were, and the more complete the development of the various rules, the more help it would be to the creator of the small world. Therefore, in order to prevent a large number of people from leaving the small world, they had to set up obstacles. However, they couldn't trap the cultivators forever. Therefore, reincarnation appeared. The appearance of reincarnation was something the creator of the small world couldn't interfere with. However, since ancient times, the number of people who could pass through reincarnation was extremely few. Just like the Saint's world, after so many years, only Murong Yu and a limited number of people had passed through reincarnation. In that case, Murong Yu only had less than 2 hours left. Would he be able to refine the small world into his own small world within 2 hours? In theory, it should be possible. This was because he was already the master of the Saint's world and was recognized by the origin of the Saint's world. After sending away Murong Xian and the others, Murong Yu began to discuss with the old sage. This method is the best. If you can't do it in an hour, then you can only snatch it. After hearing Murong Yu's plan, the old sage agreed. After all, with Murong Yu's current strength, it would be difficult for him to snatch the Saint's world from the hands of a peak powerhouse. Therefore, Murong Yu cooperated with the origin of the Saint's world and began to refine the Saint's world from the inside. After entering the netherworld realm, a cultivator could slowly create a small world that belonged to them within their body. Apart from creating a small world, they could also refine ownerless small worlds into their own. What Murong Yu wanted to do now was refine the ownerless Saint's world into his own small world. Chapter 2086. Time passed by slowly, and 2 hours passed very quickly. At this moment, Qian Yao was digesting the origin, energy, and laws of the planets that he had devoured earlier. Once he finished digesting, he would refine the sacred world. At this moment, in the sacred world, Murong Yu was rapidly fusing with the sacred world. Even if he completely refined and fused with the ownerless sacred world, it would not be that easy. Even if Murong Yu was the ruler of the sacred world, the origin of the sacred world had already acknowledged him. If he wanted to completely refine and fuse the sacred world into a small world, he had to reach 100% compatibility. More than an hour later, Murong Yu's compatibility with the sacred world had only reached 60%. Although the compatibility was still rapidly increasing, there did not seem to be enough time. Murong Yu could only speed up the fusion. However, he had already exhausted all his methods and was unable to increase the compatibility any faster. In reality, this was because he was the ruler of the sacred world. Otherwise, he would not even be able to refine the sacred world in an hour, let alone the compatibility. If I can't complete the fusion before Qian Yao refines it, then I can only snatch it by force. While increasing the compatibility, Murong Yu thought to himself, no matter what, he would not allow Murong Xian and the others to be harmed in any way. Swish! Not long after, Qian Yao, who had been digesting the origin, energy, and laws of the planet with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. At this moment, Murong Yu's heart was filled with an extremely strong sense of danger. Ha ha! This method is indeed useful. When I refine all these planets, I will definitely be able to advance to the heaven realm. I really am a genius. Qin Yao did not immediately refine the sacred world. Instead, he laughed proudly. However, Murong Yu did not relax because of Qin Yao's temporary actions. It was only a matter of time before Qin Yao refined the sacred world. 90%. When Murong Yu raised the compatibility with the sacred world to 90%, Qin Yao had already looked at the sacred world. This planet is about to evolve into a primordial star. It is the planet with the strongest origin energy, the most laws, and the most complete planet. If I can devour it, my strength will definitely improve greatly. As Qin Yao said that, a tremendous power enveloped the holy world and swallowed it into its stomach. Whoosh! At this moment, a ball of blinding light suddenly erupted from the saint's world. Following this, a huge sword condensed from boundless energy slashed out, viciously slashing into Qin Yao's body. You can still resist? Qin Yao was shocked. The power in his body trembled, and the terrifying power was immediately suppressed. With a bang, the huge sword was directly suppressed. At the same time, even more power enveloped the entire saint's world firmly, preventing it from launching another counterattack. Qin Yao, come out. At this moment, an angry roar came from outside the treasury. Two figures descended from the sky at the same time as the angry shouts. They were Mo Wu and Xingyu. The moment the two powerhouses appeared, they unleashed a terrifying attack. Rumble, like a raging wave, the power shattered the void and directly attacked the Magic Light Tower's treasury, which was also the place where Qin Yao was cultivating in seclusion. The first to react was not the creation realm powerhouses of the Magic Light Tower who were guarding outside, but the billions of formations and restrictions. Mo Wu's and Xing Yu's attacks directly activated the spirit array and restriction that enveloped the treasury. In an instant, all kinds of lights soared into the sky, overflowing with killing intent. The terrifying power of the formations and restrictions forced the creation realm powerhouses of the Magic Light Tower, who were guarding outside the treasury, to retreat. However, these people were creation realm powerhouses after all, the elites of the Magic Light Tower. After reacting, they all soared into the sky and charged toward Mo Wu and Xingyu with murderous intent. The sect masters of the Demon Sealing sect and Xingyu sect, the powerhouses of the Magic Light Tower, could still recognize Mo Wu and Xingyu. After recognizing them, they naturally knew how terrifying their strength was. Therefore, they only surrounded them and did not attack. Otherwise, with their strength, they would not be able to withstand Mo Wu and Xingyu's attacks at all. Qin Yao, are you still trying to hide in the treasury and refine planets to break through? These methods of yours have been discovered long ago. Now, the two of us are here on Lord Skeleton's orders. Come out immediately. Mo Wu's voice was like rolling thunder, causing ripples to appear in the space of the entire Black Pin planet. In fact, some of the weaker people of the Magic Light Tower were so shocked that their chi and blood surged, and their bodies were almost shattered. Inside the treasury, Qin Yao, who was about to refine the sacred world, was shocked. He was the only one who knew that he was refining planets to raise his cultivation. Even his most trusted subordinates did not know. How did Mo Wu and Xingyu know? How did the skeleton know? Could it be that heaven-tier powerhouses were really so powerful? The skeleton was a supreme existence of the heaven tier. He could definitely kill him, a peak creation realm powerhouse, with a single finger. Thus, Qin Yao was somewhat hesitant. Although he was confident that he could break through to the heaven tier, it was definitely not possible in a short time. And if he angered the skeleton, he would definitely die with a single finger. Bastard. Qin Yao temporarily stopped devouring the sacred world and stepped out of the cultivation area, appearing outside the treasury. Mo Wu, Xingyu, When did the two of you become the skeleton's dogs? Qin Yao looked at Mo Wu and Xing Yu, who were floating in the void, with a murderous expression. However, Qin Yao did not directly attack. One was because he reckoned that the skeleton behind the two of them had already become the skeleton's dogs. It was hard to guarantee that the skeleton wouldn't give them some life-saving methods. Moreover, his battle prowess was not enough for him to kill Mo Wu and Xing Yu. After all, their battle prowess was not inferior to his. Mo Wu stepped out and stood in the sky, looking down at Qin Yao. Qin Yao, do you know your crime? Follow me immediately. While Mo Wu was speaking, Xing Yu had already stepped out and looked at Qin Yao coldly, as if he would attack at any time. Qin Yao was furious. If it was in the past, how could Mo Wu and Xing Yu dare to speak to him like this? Now, that's not right. Why are these two guys only at the 4th level of the creation realm? Mo Wu and Xing Yu were only at the 4th level of the creation realm. Qin Yao seemed to have discovered something and did not answer. Instead, he sized up Mo Wu and Xing Yu. The more he looked, the more he felt that something was wrong. Although the two in front of him were exactly the same as Mo Wu and Xing Yu. Even their auras were very similar. However, Qin Yao felt that the two of them were somewhat different. Their realms, auras, and even temperaments were different. Who exactly are the two of you? How dare you impersonate Mo Wu and Xing Yu? Qin Yao shouted and took a step forward, arriving in front of Mo Wu and Xing Yu. How dare you? How dare you question our identities? Questioning us is also questioning Lord Skeleton. Just wait for Lord Skeleton's punishment. Xing Yu sneered, then turned around to leave. Mo Wu also sneered and turned around to leave. Qin Yao, on the other hand, laughed coldly. At this moment, he was already sure that the two guys in front of him were imposters. Thus, he stretched out his hand and grabbed Mo Wu and Xing Yu. These two fellows were truly audacious. And most importantly, why did these two impersonate Mo Wu and Xing Yu to come here? What conspiracy was there? Most importantly, how did the two of them sneak into planet Xianping without anyone noticing? Thus, Qin Yao decided to capture the two of them. However, Mo Wu and Xing Yu were furious. Qin Yao, these are our power clones. When you made your move, our true bodies already knew. At this moment, Lord Skeleton has already rushed to planet Xianping. Your magic light tower will be destroyed. You're courting death. Qin Yao was furious. Not only were these two guys impersonating Mo Wu and Xing Yu, they were also disturbing the hearts of the people of Magic Light Tower. They deserve to die. Bang! Bang! Qin Yao's large hand was about to capture Mo Wu and Xing Yu. At that moment, the demonic crow and the star moon suddenly exploded, turning into the most primitive power and finally dissipating in the world. Qin Yao, Magic Light Tower, just wait to be destroyed. Ha! Although the two of them had exploded, Mo Wu's voice reverberated throughout planet Xianping. Qin Yao's face was as gloomy as water. His eyes flickered with a terrifying cold light. At the same time, inside Qin Yao's body, in the holy world, compatibility 100%. Murong Yu's compatibility with the holy world had finally reached 100%. The moment the compatibility reached 100%, Murong Yu immediately made his move. Whoosh! In an instant, the holy world had become Murong Yu's small world. When the holy world became Murong Yu's small world, it disappeared from Qin Yao's body and automatically appeared in Murong Yu's body. Murong Yu was caught off guard and appeared in Qin Yao's body. Oh no! Murong Yu's expression abruptly changed as he charged into the He-Tu and the Book of the Luo. Then, the He-Tu and the Book of the Luo teleported him out of Qin Yao's body. At the same time that He-Chu Luo-Shu disappeared, a terrifying power swept over like a stormy sea. It was Qin Yao who discovered that something was wrong and launched the most terrifying attack. However, Murong Yu had already left. So, it was you who did it. Qin Yao roared angrily. Although Murong Yu had only appeared for an instant, he had already remembered Murong Yu's appearance and aura. Murong Yu's aura had something in common with Mo Wu and Xing Yu. With Qin Yao's intelligence, how could he not know that Mo Wu and Xing Yu were Murong Yu's power incarnations? However, who was Murong Yu? How'd he get in? Moreover, how'd he take away that planet? Chapter 2087. Qin Yao's guess was correct. The Demon Crow and Star Moon from before were indeed the clones created by Murong Yu. This was also a choice that Murong Yu had no choice but to make. In the beginning, Murong Yu did not expect this plan to succeed. He only needed to stall for time. However, this plan was rather successful, as it had bought enough time for Murong Yu to arrive. It allowed Murong Yu to successfully fuse with the sacred world and completely refine it into a small world. Of course, the reason why Murong Yu's clones could not continue acting was because of his cultivation realm and strength. The difference between him and the Demon Crow and Star Moon was too great. Moreover, he was not very familiar with the two of them. If it wasn't for the fact that Qin Yao was shocked from the beginning and didn't suspect anything, Murong Yu's plan would have been seen through long ago. The reason why Murong Yu was able to transform these two people was completely because he had left a portion of his power outside before entering the treasury. This was Murong Yu. He was prepared for everything and left a few paths of retreat. Otherwise, if Murong Yu directly barged in and didn't do anything, not only would he not be able to refine the sacred world into a small world, he might even die. He had been tricked by a junior, and had even stolen the planet that he was preparing to refine. This made Qin Yao extremely furious, and he cursed at the group of Magic Light Tower's Creation Realm experts who were guarding the treasury. After an hour, after scolding those Creation Realm experts until they were bleeding, Qin Yao finally stopped. He waved his hand and dismissed these people, telling them to go find Murong Yu. However, Qin Yao didn't have much confidence. After all, Murong Yu could sneak in without anyone noticing, and he could also sneak out without anyone noticing. Then, had Murong Yu already slipped out? Murong Yu did not directly teleport out, although he had the ability to do so. At that time, after Murong Yu left Xun Yao's body, he directly teleported into the treasure house of the Magic Light building. When Xun Yao left the treasure house, he had already secretly placed a teleportation jade slip in the treasure house. Whoosh! Murong Yu directly appeared in the space where Qin Yao was originally cultivating. After Qin Yao left, he only brought out the sacred world that he had swallowed. The rest of the planets were still in this space, like a sky full of stars floating in this space. Previously, Qin Yao said that after refining these planets, he would definitely be able to advance to the heaven realm. That guy should have remembered me by now. If he breaks through to the heaven tier, then wouldn't I have another powerful enemy? Rather than that, why don't we? Murong Yu chuckled and immediately summoned the Hichu Luo Shu. The Hichu Luo Shu expanded with the wind, and in an instant, it expanded to the size of this space. Under Murong Yu's control, the Hichu Luo Shu fiercely swept up all the planets in this space. With a wave of his hand, he grabbed the Hichu Luo Shu in his hand, and Murong Yu appeared in another space of the treasure house. Just like collecting those planets, Murong Yu was not afraid of those formations and restrictions at all, and began to forcibly collect them. One by one, origin tools, medicinal pills, heaven and earth treasures were quickly collected into the Hichu Luo Shu. Because of the He-Tu and the Book of the Luo, every time he collected a large amount of them. Therefore, in the blink of an eye, more than 1/10 of the items in the treasure house were collected. Many treasures were shrouded by arrays and restrictions. Murong Yu's direct collection immediately triggered countless formations and restrictions. Not long after, an ear-piercing alarm sounded in the entire treasure house. Not good. Qin Yao was shocked and wanted to rush in at the first moment. However, at this moment, the formations and restrictions that were triggered by the attacks of the Devil Crow and Star Moon had not stopped. Even though Qin Yao's battle prowess was monstrous, he did not dare to barge into these formations and restrictions that had been activated. At the very least, he had to wait until these formations and restrictions were about the same before he dared to enter. Therefore, all he could do now was to watch from the outside, but he was powerless to do anything. Little bastard, you better not come out. Otherwise, I won't beat you to death. Qian Yao gritted his teeth and cursed in his heart. This treasure house was the only treasure house of the Magic Light Tower. It stored the savings of the Magic Light Tower for countless years, and there were many treasures that even Qian Yao was reluctant to use. Gradually, the activated formations and restrictions stopped. Immediately, Qian Yao and a group of Creation Realm powerhouses from the Magic Light Tower rushed in. Little bastard, I'm going to kill you. Seeing that there was not even a single pill left in the treasure house, Qian Yao let out an earth-shattering roar. His heart was dripping blood. If Murong Yu had only looted the Magic Light Tower's countless years of savings, that would be nothing. As long as Qian Yao could break through to the Heaven Realm, then everything would come back. However, Murong Yu had also looted the planets that he had spent many years and countless energy to plunder. These planets were suitable planets that he had only collected after walking through the entire Milky Way star field. Although the Milky Way star field was large, only these planets were suitable for him to cultivate. Now that they had all been emptied by Murong Yu, where was he going to find enough planets to break through? Could it be that he had to go to other galaxies? Pooh! Qian Yao spat out a large mouthful of blood, provoked by Murong Yu. To be able to make a peak Creation Realm expert vomit blood, Murong Yu's ability was truly extraordinary. Completely seal off the mysterious pinnacle star, and at the same time place a bounty on this bastard in the entire Milky Way star field. If you can provide effective information, I, Qian Yao, will definitely reward you greatly. Qian Yao gritted his teeth and gave the order. Thus, overnight, the news of Murong Yu's bounty spread throughout the entire Milky Way star field. As soon as Murong Yu's image appeared, many people recognized him. Among them were the people from the Skeleton Bandit group, and some people even knew that Murong Yu came from the solar system. Solar system? Very good. Let's go and destroy the solar system now. Damn it, he actually dares to touch the ground on top of Tai Sui's head. This little bastard is really impatient. Qian Yao gritted his teeth, brought along a group of experts from the Magic Light Tower, and rushed towards the solar system in a mighty manner. The solar system was facing destruction. And at this time, where was Murong Yu? Ever since he had emptied Qian Yao's treasury, Murong Yu had directly teleported back to the solar system. He knew that it was only a matter of time before Qian Yao found out about his identity. Thus, he needed to return as soon as possible to make preparations. However, the solar system was weak and weak. How could it fight against the powerful Magic Light Tower? Moreover, if the World Annihilation Gang, or even the Skeleton Bandit group, got involved, the destruction of the solar system would only take a moment. Murong Yu could wave his sleeves and leave in a carefree manner. However, he was not such a heartless and cold-blooded person. He had indeed left, but the cultivators on the countless planets in the solar system and the origin planets, who were as numerous as the grains of sand in the Ganges River, would all die because of him. This was something that Murong Yu did not want to see. However, what could he do? In Hichu, Luo Shu, Murong Yu, Zhao Jiqing, Murong Xian, and other people who had not seen each other for a long time had gathered together. At this time, there was no joy on their faces. On the contrary, each of them had a grave expression on their faces. This was because they were aware of the solar system's crisis. Which one of you has a way to solve this crisis? Murong Yu looked at everyone and asked. Actually, his gaze was on little Loli's face. If there was anyone here who could solve this crisis, it would be little Loli. Only little Loli had this ability. Perhaps I can solve this crisis. At this moment, a weak voice rang out. It was not little Loli, but Rong Zhuo. At this time, Rong Zhuo had already completely recovered under Murong Yu's treatment. Her strength had reached the peak of the Netherworld realm. Everyone's gazes shot towards Rong Zhuo with a swish. Sensing everyone's gazes, Rong Zhuo's expression was a little unnatural, as if she was a little nervous. I am just trying. I don't have absolute confidence. Let me contact my clan. Rong Zhuo, do you really have this ability? This is not the time to joke, Murong Yu asked with a grave expression. Rong Zhuo's background was not simple. but Murong Yu did not believe that she could solve this crisis. My clan's ancestor is also at the peak of the Genesis tier and has a certain status in the Milky Way star sector. I still have some status in my clan, but I dare not guarantee it. So, I'm just trying. Rong Zhiruo still said weakly. Murong Yu nodded. Logically speaking, Rong Zhiruo and the Rong clan strength was still not bad. However, they were only at the peak of the Genesis tier. Whether they could stand up against the magic light tower for Rong Zhiruo's sake was still a question. Moreover, Murong Yu's enemy was a skeleton at the heaven tier. Thus, Rong Zhiruo left Hichu Luoshu and went outside to send a message to the Rong clan. Little Lowly, what do you have to say? Murong Yu stared at Little Lowly. Little Lowly rolled her eyes. What can I do? This is trouble that you caused. What does it have to do with me? Sensing Murong Yu's murderous gaze, Little Lowly immediately became dejected. All right, I'll try my best. However, don't get your hopes up. I'm fending for myself outside. Who's going to come and help me? Thus, Little Lowly left Hichu Luoshu. However, in less than a few breaths' time, she returned with Rong Zhiruo. Moreover, everyone noticed that Rong Zhiruo was smiling. All right, this matter has been resolved. You don't have to worry. Nothing will happen to the solar system. Rong Zhiruo relaxed, a smile on her face. Rong Zhiruo, are you telling the truth? Murong Yu was rather doubtful. This was because he did not know the Rong clan's strength and status at all. Thus, it was very normal for him to be doubtful. Rong Zhiruo nodded firmly. Trust me, I can't possibly lie to my savior, right? Chapter 2088. Rong Zhiruo's smile was rather bashful, but her bashfulness was filled with determination. For some reason, Rong Zhiruo's smile gave Murong Yu great confidence. At that moment, Murong Yu and the others all believed Rong Zhiruo. However, even though Murong Yu had chosen to believe him, he still had to be prepared for the consequences. Otherwise, once the magic light tower attacked and the people of the Rong family did not come, wouldn't that be a collective tragedy? Murong Yu then looked at the Little Lowly. The Little Lowly shook her head innocently. Rong Zhiruo said she could deal with this, so I believed her. As a result, Murong Yu staggered. Wasn't this Little Lowly a little too unreliable? Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, space was forcefully ripped open outside the sun. Subsequently, numerous enormous starships shot out from the void like prehistoric ferocious beasts, appearing before everyone's eyes. Waves of ancient and terrifying auras constantly emanated from the starry sky ship. The powerful auras suppressed the sun. Even the souls of many cultivators on the nearby origin planets trembled. Experts at Murong Yu's level could feel the incomparably powerful existences standing on the starship, looking at the sun through the endless starry sky. It's the people of the Magic Light Tower. Murong Yu frowned slightly. The people of the Magic Light Tower had come far too quickly. Even if the people of the Rong family had agreed to help, Rong Zhiruo had only sent out the notice recently. So how could they make it in time? Rong Zhiruo's smile froze. She had just guaranteed that everything would be fine, and now, the people of the Magic Light Tower had appeared. Was this not a slap in the face? What do I do? Rong Zhiruo's mind was in a mess. For a moment, she had no idea what to do. She really wanted to repay her debt of gratitude. If it were not for her relationship with Murong Yu, she would have died long ago. Now that Murong Yu had encountered such a huge problem, she could not do it even though she had agreed. This made her very uncomfortable. You guys enter my spatial treasure first. Murong Yu had no choice but to take away all the important people from the Murong Tower. He would take as many as he could. As for the rest of the people in the solar system, there was nothing they could do. Below us is the sun, Shenzhen's headquarters. Smash it into pieces. Qin Yao stood on the deck of one of the starry sky ships. She looked at the distant sun and gave the order with a cold expression. Qin Yao did not suppress his voice. In fact, his voice even spread out of the giant starship, passed through the endless starry sky, and resounded in the sky above the sun. The faces of the people on the sun instantly turned pale. All of them felt extremely depressed. Why did these people like to attack the solar system? What crime did they commit? Let's see who dares. Just as the Magic Light Pavilion's disciples were about to smash the sun star apart, a cold voice suddenly rang out in the endless starry sky. At the same time, a thin and weak voice appeared in front of Magic Light Tower Starship. This was a skinny old man with a pale face and no beard. However, there was a terrifying aura hidden within his body. He was like a prehistoric ferocious beast that was ready to strike. This was a peak stage creation realm elite. Stop! Qin Yao suddenly gave the order because this ordinary-looking old man gave her a dangerous feeling. Although everyone was at the peak of the creation realm, she felt that she was definitely no match for this skinny old man. If the old man wanted to kill her, she would not be able to escape death, even if she was surrounded by many creation realm elites of the Magic Light Pavilion. On the sun, Murong Yu and the others suddenly saw the skinny old man. They all looked toward Rong Zhuo. At this moment, the worry on Rong Zhuo's face had disappeared. There was only a surprised smile. From the looks of it, that old man should be someone from the Rong family. However, could he fight Qin Yao alone? Could he intimidate Qin Yao? Murong Yu, Zhao Jiqing, and the others were somewhat doubtful. Don't worry, the solar system is safe. The Magic Light Pavilion's people will definitely retreat, and they will never dare to invade again. Rong Zhuo smiled. Her smile was so relaxed and confident. Murong Yu and the others looked at the endless starry sky outside doubtfully. At this moment, Qin Yao had already arrived not far in front of the old man with a gloomy expression. Friend, our Magic Light Pavilion is doing something. Please give us some face. The skinny old man snorted. Are you planning to destroy the entire solar system? This old man came here today because of this matter. I hope you can give the Rong family some face. Hearing this, anger flashed across Qin Yao's face. This old man did not pay attention to him at all. In any case, he was a peak stage creation realm elite, and the Magic Light Pavilion had some say in the Milky Way star field. On the contrary, this old man was very domineering. Although he said it politely on the surface, it was actually a commanding tone. He actually ordered Qin Yao to leave here. What was he? Also, what was the Rong family? Was there such a powerful family in the Milky Way star field? Qin Yao searched for the Rong family in his mind and found that there was no family called the Rong family in the Milky Way star field. As for those 11 celestial realm families, don't joke around. Which of those 11 supreme existences had the surname Rong? Thus, Qin Yao sneered. What if I don't retreat? The old man snorted again, and a cold, killing intent flashed across his eyes. Then there's no need for your Magic Light Pavilion to continue existing. Qin Yao sneered. Your Excellency is very powerful. I have to admit this. But aren't you too arrogant? Do you think you can stop my Magic Light Pavilion by yourself? If I want to destroy the solar system, no one in the Milky Way star field can stop me. What big words. Simply arrogant and ignorant. I wonder if he can stop you? The old man sneered, and with a wave of his hand, a black shadow flew toward Qin Yao. Qin Yao sneered as she reached out her hand and grabbed the object that was flying towards her. Then he took a closer look. He found that this was a token made of an unknown material and was quite heavy. What is it with just this? Qin Yao continued to sneer. Just as he was about to crush the token in his hand, he saw 2 ancient words written on the token. After careful identification, he found that these 2 words seemed to be the word destiny. Destiny? Qin Yao was slightly startled. In the next moment, he seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. Destiny? Could it be that supreme existence, destiny? Qin Yao's body trembled, and his face revealed a look of fear. Who was the strongest in the Milky Way star field? Other than the skeleton who had just broken through to the celestial realm, there were the 10 celestial realm experts. And one of the celestial realm experts was called Destiny. Destiny? Could it be that this old man was from Destiny? Could it be that the solar system had something to do with Destiny? If that was the case, then he was really courting death. Daring to touch someone from Destiny? As long as Destiny gave the order, the entire Magic Light Pavilion would be turned into ashes overnight. In a Milky Way star field, other than that existence, who would dare to use these two words as an identity token? The old man looked at Qin Yao with disdain. After receiving the old man's confirmation, Qin Yao's body trembled even more. This, haha, misunderstanding, it's just a misunderstanding. Our magic light pavilion is just passing by the solar system, and we definitely don't want to destroy the solar system. Not only that, we will never step into the solar system in the future. Qin Yao respectfully handed the destiny token to the old man, and at the same time forced a smile. The old man glanced at Qin Yao indifferently. Let's forget about this matter. Our Rong family won't interfere with personal grudges. But if you implicate the entire galaxy, the Rong family won't allow it. Qin Yao's body shook violently, grasping the meaning of the old man's words. You always said that I can settle my grudges with Murong Yu and the Rong family, or that supreme existence won't interfere. The old man nodded slightly and then waved his hand. Let's go back. As if he had been forgiven, Qin Yao hurriedly left with the many experts of the Magic Light Pavilion. On the other hand, Murong Yu and the others on the Sun were confused. This was because Murong Yu and the others didn't hear anything they said. He only saw the old man throw out something that looked like a token, and then Qin Yao was scared away. Young miss. The old man stepped out of the void, and soon appeared in front of Murong Yu and the others. He first bowed respectfully to Rong Zhiruo, and then bowed to Murong Yu. Young hero Murong, thank you for curing our young miss. Our Rong family will definitely thank you. This time, it's just our Rong family's sincerity. Senior is too polite. Murong Yu was confused, but he still politely returned the bow. Later, the Rong family will have an activity with the Rong family. We hope young hero Murong can come and participate. As he spoke, the old man took out an identity token and jade slip and handed it to Murong Yu. Murong Yu didn't argue and directly accepted it. Young miss, the patriarch has orders. Since you've already recovered, you should hurry back to the clan as soon as possible. You've fallen too far behind. Rong Zhuo was slightly unwilling, but she didn't say anything in the end. She only nodded gently in agreement. In the end, under the confused gazes of Murong Yu and the others, Rong Zhuo was taken away by the old man, just like that. What's going on? The danger has been resolved, just like that? Even after Rong Zhiruo left, no one had returned to their senses. They felt like everything that had happened was far too childish, like they were watching a play. Murong Yu glared at Murong Xian in exasperation. Don't tell me you want to battle the people of the Magic Light Tower? With your strength, they'll be blasted to smithereens before they even reach them. Xiaohua, you're the same. The large black dog continued Murong Yu's words, and at the same time patted the head of the fire-eyed golden ape beside him. Chapter 2089. Murong Yu, Zhao Jiqing, and the 5 women, as well as the large black dog, were the first 5 people to emerge from the sacred realm and pass through reincarnation. Naturally, the strength of the others who had yet to pass through reincarnation was far inferior to Murong Yu. To say nothing of Murong Yu, even the large black dog was far inferior to them. It couldn't be helped. It wasn't that their aptitude was lacking, but rather that the environment created elites. Although the sacred realm was relatively high level, the origin chi of heaven and earth and the restrictions of the sacred realm couldn't create elites of the reincarnation tier or higher. Thus, when they saw the smug large black dog, the fire-eyed golden ape, and even Murong Xian and the others were slightly displeased. Large black dog, you're really too disgusting. Do you believe that they'll catch up soon? The little lowly hefted her giant axe and slowly walked toward the smug large black dog. At the same time, she looked at him with a malicious gaze. The little lowly's strength was much greater than the large black dog's. Thus, when he saw the little lowly walk over with malicious intent, the large black dog couldn't help but shiver. It had incurred the wrath of the crowd. Thus, the large black dog smiled embarrassedly. Then, he turned around and disappeared. An invitation from a mysterious Rong clan? A hint of curiosity flashed through Murong Yu's eyes as he looked at the Rong clan's token in his hand. Murong, are you really going to participate in this activity? I keep feeling that the Rong clan is not simple, Zhao Jiqing said. This unknown clan of the Rong clan had actually scared away the Magic Light Tower and Qinyao. What kind of clan was this? The Rong clan was so mysterious. Murong Yu didn't have any understanding of them at all. Although Murong Yu had cured Rong Zhuo, one couldn't see the true face of a person. Who knew if the Rong clan was like Rong Zhuo and would repay his kindness? Or perhaps, because of Murong Yu's strength, they'd want to steal his cultivation technique? After all, Rong Zhuo had previously said that even the strongest elite of her clan couldn't do anything to her soul. If not for her relationship with Murong Yu, she would have died long ago. Let's go take a look. Murong Yu gently shook the token in his hand and said with a smile, "Then you have to be careful." Yu Mengqing walked up and rolled her eyes at Murong Yu. They all knew that once Murong Yu had decided on something, he would not change it easily. Therefore, he didn't say anything and only told him to be careful. There was still some time before the Rong family's event, so Murong Yu wasn't in a hurry to go. Moreover, although the Rong family scared away the Magic Light Building, Murong Yu's enemies were not just Qinyao. There was also the World Annihilation Gang and the peerless expert, Skeleton. In addition to these enemies, Murong Yu's Hichu Luoshu still had many planets. These planets were plundered by Qinyao from various parts of the Milky Way star field. Therefore, if Murong Yu wants to return these planets to their original positions, it will take him a lot of time. Time was not a problem for cultivators of their level. However, the key point was that Murong Yu didn't know where these planets were originally located. Ask the cultivators on these planets. They couldn't leave the planets, so they naturally didn't know where the planets were originally located. Moreover, the most important thing was that once he returned these planets, what if Qinyao went back to plunder them? If that was the case, wouldn't Murong Yu's efforts be in vain? Carrying these planets around was not a solution. Moreover, these planets were the same no matter where they were in the starry sky. Therefore, in the end, Murong Yu decided to place these planets in the solar system. The Holy World had already become Murong Yu's small world, perfectly fusing with Murong Yu. It had become a part of his body. Of course, if Murong Yu wanted to separate it from his body, that was also possible. At worst, Murong Yu could just create a new small world. However, Murong Yu didn't plan to do so. He could sense that the Holy World was about to level up. Once it leveled up, it would become a primordial star. Once the planet became a primordial star, Murong Yu would also gain huge benefits. However, the many cultivators in the Holy World made it very difficult for Murong Yu to make this choice. Whether the Holy World could level up from a planet to a primordial star depended on the cultivators inside. Without them, if the Holy World wanted to level up, it would take an extremely long time. However, there were too many lives inside. Once Murong Yu died, the many lives in the Holy World would be buried with him. This was the thing that Murong Yu didn't want to see the most. Of course, he didn't want to die even more. However, in the end, Murong Yu still made the decision to not separate the Holy World. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Murong Yu came to a relatively remote place in the solar system. With a thought, planets shot out from the He2 and the Book of the Luo. These planets were the ones that had been snatched from Qinyao. Murong Yu decided to place them all in the solar system. The planets shot out one by one and stopped when they reached the designated location. Then, Murong Yu removed the restrictions on them. Rumble, the planets returned to their original size one by one. They were incomparably huge. With Murong Yu's current strength, it was still difficult for him to compress a planet to the size of a fist. However, removing the seals wasn't a problem. One by one, the restrictions on the planets were removed. As a result, there were more and more high-level planets in the solar system. Moreover, Murong Yu and the others who followed Murong Xian also discovered that these planets were placed very cleverly, as if they formed a formation. A starry sky formation? That's right, these planets were indeed arranged into a formation. The planets were connected to each other. Normally, there was no problem in entering and exiting these planets. However, If one was snatched away, it would affect the entire situation and trigger the power of the formation. At that time, even an existence at the peak of the creation realm, like Qin Yao, might be seriously injured. It was a pity that the solar system was too big. Otherwise, Murong Yu could have used these planets to form a huge defensive formation and surrounded the entire solar system. It was as solid as an iron bucket. Buzz. When Murong Yu released all the planets and formed a huge starry sky formation, all the living beings in the solar system felt the solar system tremble. Somehow, a strange feeling appeared in their hearts. It seemed that the solar system was much more advanced than before. Previously, it was difficult for even Netherworld realm experts to appear in the solar system. But now, many cultivators who had reached the 9th level of the creation realm felt that they suddenly had an opportunity to break through. Even Murong Yu didn't notice. After he completed these changes, the heaven and earth essence energy in the entire solar system began to slowly change. This essence energy was of a higher level and much larger than before. Murong Yu suddenly understood. The solar system's level had increased. It had reached the Netherworld realm. However, he didn't know whether the increase in the solar system's level was due to the addition of these planets or because these planets had been combined into a formation. Murong Yu didn't know this for now. However, this was a good thing. At this time, a month had passed since the Magic Light Tower's invasion. During this time, no external forces like the World Annihilation Gang had come to invade the solar system. Even the Skeleton Bandits had no news. Murong Yu couldn't help but guess that this was because the Rong family had warned or intimidated forces like the World Annihilation Gang. However, did the Rong family have the ability to intimidate a celestial realm expert like Skeleton? If not for the Rong family, would the Skeleton Bandits have attacked the solar system? Murong Yu felt that the reason the solar system was so peaceful had something to do with the Rong family. The more this was the case, the more he wanted to participate in the Rong family's activity. Because the holy world had become a small world in Murong Yu's body, he directly removed the suppression of reincarnation. As long as people in the holy world cultivated to the level of supreme, they could ascend and leave the holy world to appear in the endless starry sky. Of course, Murong Yu could also force people from the holy world to leave the holy world. Therefore, Murong Xian, Duanmu Qing, and other Murong Yu's relatives and friends, as well as Shenzhen's talented people, were all sent out of the holy world by him. These people were just wronged and wasting their talents in the holy world. The endless starry sky was their final stage. These people didn't let down Murong Yu's expectations. In a month's time, with the help of various treasures, they all broke through to the rebirth realm. As long as they had time, it wouldn't be a problem for them to break through to the chaos realm, universe realm, creation realm, or even netherworld realm. After all, they were some of the most talented people in the holy world. All of them fought from the bottom. Not only were their talents extraordinary, their perseverance was also quite astonishing. On this day, Murong Yu, who was guiding everyone in their cultivation, suddenly revealed a smile on his face. At the same time, those people near him also felt that the aura on Murong Yu's body seemed to be much stronger than before. Then associating it with the smile on Murong Yu's face, they all guessed that Murong Yu's cultivation realm broke through again. Indeed, Murong Yu's cultivation realm broke through again. However, what broke through was not cultivation or physical body, but soul. Soul of the second stage of the netherworld realm. At this time, Murong Yu's soul, cultivation, and physical body had already reached the second stage of the netherworld realm. His battle prowess skyrocketed again, charging to the 5th stage of the creation realm in one go. Furthermore, it was the peak of the 5th stage of the creation realm. It almost reached the 6th stage of the creation realm. The reason why everyone could feel it was because Murong Yu had just spat out his cultivation realm, and it leaked a little because he couldn't control it well for a moment. Otherwise, with Murong Yu's current ability to control power and aura, how could Murong Xian and the rest feel the change in his cultivation realm's battle prowess? The mutation of the soul sphere is too important to the improvement of the soul realm. If it wasn't for the mutation of the soul sphere, cultivating like this, wanting to improve the soul to the second stage of the netherworld realm would probably be impossible for an era. Murong thought with some surprise in his heart. Chapter 2090. A year later, Murong left the solar system and went on the road alone to participate in the Rong family's event. During this time, no forces dared to invade the solar system, as if they were afraid of the Rong family. At the same time, Murong also used the resources in his hands to inquire about the mysterious Rong family. However, there were many Rong family in the Milky Way star field, but none of the Rong family was similar to Rong Zhurua's family. In the end, Murong gave up on continuing to inquire. Anyway, wouldn't things be clear soon? The Kaiwa galaxy was an ordinary galaxy among the countless galaxies in the Milky Way star field. This galaxy was even worse than the solar system. The reason why Murong appeared here was because of the Rong family's identity token, because he didn't know where the Rong family was. And the Rong family was also quite mysterious. Every time they arrived at a place, they would continue to designate the next place. Before arriving at the Kaiwa galaxy, the Rong family's identity token had already designated many places. Shua. Not long after Murong appeared, another figure appeared not far from Murong. It was just an ordinary-looking young man holding the Rong family's identity token. What's going on? Why is there no sound? Is it broken? After this young man appeared, he didn't notice Murong's existence at all. Secondly, he stared at the Rong family's identity token in his hand for a long time before asking in confusion. How could the Rong family's identity token be broken? Unless it was deliberately broken. The identity token in Murong's hand didn't have any instructions now. Hey, there's another person here. Friend, are you also going to participate in the Rong family's meeting of heroes? After a long time, the young man finally found Murong, so he walked over with a look of surprise and asked at the same time, Meeting of heroes? Murong was startled. He had never heard of the meeting of heroes. The old man only said that the Rong family had an event and invited him to participate. Are you not going to participate in the meeting of heroes? No. If you're not going to participate in the meeting of heroes, why do you have the Rong family's token? The young man looked at Murong with a strange expression. Murong smiled. I am indeed going to the Rong family, but I don't know if I'm going to participate in the meeting of heroes. Because the senior who gave me the token only told me to participate in an activity of the Rong family. Seeing that the young man didn't seem malicious and seemed to know something about the Rong family, Rong Qingxue thought to herself. Murong replied with a smile. That's right, you must be going to participate in the meeting of heroes. But you're only at the 3rd level of the Nether Insight realm. This strength is a little dangerous, the young man said with a frown. What's going on? Murong asked. It seemed that this great ensemble of heroes was not simple. You don't know anything? Seeing that Murong didn't seem to be lying, the young man couldn't help but be a little curious. Murong really didn't know, so he shook his head. Brother, you are too tragic. How about this? I will tell you about this meeting of heroes. The young man patted Murong's shoulder with a sympathetic expression. After the young man's explanation, Murong finally knew what the meeting of heroes was. At the same time, he also knew what kind of existence the Rong family was. The Rong family was actually just an ordinary force in the Milky Way star field, and there were some peak creation realm existences in the family. However, among the creation realm forces, the Rong family was not the top. However, the Rong family could scare away the Magic Light Tower, which was also a creation realm force. Why was that? This was because the Rong family's current patriarch's younger sister was the wife of Tianming, one of the 10 Heaven Realm powerhouses in the Milky Way star field. A father's status depended on his son. The Rong family's current patriarch's status depended on his younger sister. Because his younger sister was Tianming's only wife, she was extremely doted on by Tianming. Tianming's wife had an extremely good relationship with her family. Therefore, the Rong family's status naturally rose. Even other Heaven Realm powerhouses did not dare to rashly touch the Rong family, let alone other families. Therefore, among all the creation realm forces, the Rome family was not the strongest, but their appeal was the strongest. And a meeting of heroes was an event that the Rome family would organize every once in a while. As long as one was a genius in the Milky Way star field, they were eligible to participate. Of course, some participants were actively invited by the Rome family. For example, Moron Yu and the young man were people who were invited. However, the Rome family was not a Heaven Realm level force. Moreover, even a Heaven Realm level force could not discover all the geniuses in the entire Milky Way star field. And those geniuses who were not discovered by the Rome family and were invited, or who were not invited for some reason, wanted to participate in the Rome family's meeting of heroes. Very simple. Snatch the Rome family's identity token. As long as one snatched the token in Moron Yu's hands, they would be eligible to participate in the meeting of heroes. If one did not have a token, they would not be able to participate, because they did not know where the Rome family would hold it. Every meeting of heroes held by the Rome family would set off a storm of blood. Moron Yu was a little confused. Wasn't it just a meeting of heroes? Was it worth so many geniuses to participate, and it would set off a storm of blood? Yu Huffing looked at Moron Yu with a surprised gaze. All right, I forgive you for not knowing anything. Do you know what benefits there are to the meeting of heroes? Anyone who can participate in the meeting of heroes will receive a word of advice from Lord Tianming. Advice from a Heaven Realm expert. Do you know what this means? Moreover, those who are ranked higher will receive a corresponding treasure reward. The first place will be able to interact with Lord Tianming for 3 days. In these 3 days, you can ask Lord Tianming for advice on any problems you encounter in your cultivation. And Lord Tianming will spare no effort to answer your questions. Every time the first place of the meeting of heroes returns, their strength will soar by leaps and bounds. Yu Hufeng said excitedly. Moron Yu shook his head. If that was all, he would not be interested. There were countless Heaven Realm inheritances in the Shengyang Dao Mansion. Wouldn't it be better than Tianming? Most importantly, it is said that the meeting of heroes is organized by Lord Tianming to choose disciples. It is just that Lord Tianming has not been able to recruit disciples that he is satisfied with for many years. Tell me, which one of these conditions is not tempting? Which one of them would not want such an opportunity? Yu Hufeng said excitedly. He really couldn't understand why Moron Yu was acting so nonchalant. Could it be that he really wasn't interested in these things? This kid must be acting tough. He must be very excited. He is just pretending to be calm on the surface. Yu Hafeng despised Moron Yu in his heart. Little did he know that Moron Yu was really not interested and was not acting tough. It was just that Moron Yu did not have to explain it to Yu Hafeng. So that's how it is. Moron Yu suddenly realized. On the surface, this meeting of heroes was organized by the Rome family, but in fact, it was organized by Tianming. As one of the only 11 Heaven Realm powerhouses in the Milky Way star field, Tianming's appeal and temptation were great. However, those who participated in the meeting of heroes were all geniuses of the younger generation, so Moron Yu is not worried about this. If you think so, then you are very wrong. Even among the geniuses of the younger generation, there are many who are extremely powerful. Also, don't think that the older generation will not be tempted. They will also take action, snatch the token, and give it to their descendants to use. In other words, there will be peak Genesis realm existences taking action along the way. Moron Yu was shocked. Before he participated in the Rome family's meeting of heroes, his strength had made another breakthrough. After his soul broke through to the second stage of the Insight realm, his combat power had reached the terrifying 5th stage of the Genesis realm. In the next few months, Moron Yu used the Shengyang Dao Mansion to reach the 3rd stage of the Insight realm. It was because of this that Yu Hafeng said he was only at the 3rd stage of the Insight realm. With his current strength, it should not be a problem to deal with someone with the combat power of the 6th stage of the Genesis realm. However, if he met a high-level Genesis realm powerhouse, he would not be a match. Why haven't I met anyone else along the way? Moron Yu was a little puzzled. Yu Hafeng rolled his eyes. Am I not human? After saying this, Yu Hafeng's expression became bitter. because he had practically killed his way here. He did not know how many people had tried to kill him along the way, and he did not know how many people he had killed to reach here. Murong-yu actually did not meet anyone who tried to stop him. His luck was really not ordinary. At this time, Yu Hufeng was a little jealous of him. Let's continue forward. Maybe the token will only give us a hint when we reach a specific location. Murong-yu understood more or less. Moreover, he did not want to encounter any trouble, so he suggested to continue walking. If you don't hand over the token, this will be your burial ground. You can forget about going anywhere. At this moment, a voice as cold as ice traveled over. Whoosh, whoosh. Two figures appeared in Murong-yu and Yu Hufeng's line of sight. You jinx, these people should have been attracted by you, right? Murong-yu looked at Yu Hufeng helplessly. Yu Hufeng shrugged, his expression also full of helplessness. I am indeed very jinx. I have long been used to it. However, these two people are a little troublesome. Yu Hufeng's strength was actually not very strong. He was only at the 5th stage of the Genesis realm. To the younger generation, to have this strength at this age was already an extremely top-notch existence. And the two people who had appeared were both at the 5th stage of the Genesis realm, the same realm as Yu Hufeng. However, Murong-yu still found that although Yu Hufeng said they were a little troublesome, however, looking at his relaxed expression, Murong-yu did not feel that those two people were really troublesome. Although not every genius was as abnormal as Murong-yu, some people still had battle prowess that surpassed their own realm. Brother, watch my performance. Yu Hufeng patted Murong-yu's shoulder, then smiled faintly and walked towards the two people. Chapter 2091. Since Yu Hufeng was so confident and asked Murong-yu to watch his performance, Murong-yu didn't want to get involved. At most, if Yu Hufeng wasn't strong enough, it wouldn't be too late for him to make a move. Thus, he looked at Yu Hufeng calmly. Yu Hufeng and the other two saw Murong-yu's calm expression, which made them feel rather strange. Was Murong-yu a thick-skinned person, or did he have something to rely on? He didn't even bat an eyelid when facing people of their level. Xiao. At this moment, Yu Hufeng had already slowly walked in front of the two people who had suddenly appeared. Murong-yu and the other two people only saw a blinding light suddenly shoot out from Yu Hufeng's fingertips. At this moment, besides Yu Hufeng, all three people, including Murong-yu, were blinded by the light. Murong-yu was slightly better because he was behind Yu Hufeng, so his eyes were only blinded for a moment. As for the two people facing Yu Hufeng, their vision suddenly turned black. Whoosh. At this moment, Yu Hufeng's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. Yes, he had suddenly disappeared. He should belong to the category of invisibility. At this moment, the two people whose eyes were blinded by the light had yet to react. Xiao. The light appeared again, slashing out from the endless void, directly slashing towards the head of one of the two people. Although this person's eyes were blinded, he was also ambushed at the same time. However, he was a 5th stage Genesis realm existence, after all, so his reaction was top-notch. It looked like his head was about to be hit by the light. He suddenly took a step forward, bang. Although he dodged in time, he couldn't completely dodge it in the end. That light fiercely slashed below his neck, slicing downwards. A spray of blood spurted out. What followed was an incomparably mournful scream from the injured man. At this moment, Yu Hufeng had already disappeared again. Invisibility, powerful attack, and immediately disappeared after one attack. This was an assassin. In the distance, Murong-yu watched this scene with interest. He could feel that Yu Hufeng's strength wasn't just this. The two people who came out to snatch the token would definitely end up in tragedy. Sure enough, before the other person could react, a bright light had already slashed out from an unexpected angle. The light continued to appear, and every time it appeared, it would bring with it a spray of blood. In less than a few breaths of time, the two of them were already riddled with wounds. Although their injuries weren't very serious, none of them were fatal. However, they didn't even see Yu Hufeng's shadow, yet they were repeatedly injured, which made them furious. The angrier the two of them were, the more openings they had. The more flaws there were, the more injuries there would be. The situation had completely turned into Yu Hufeng's performance. In less than 15 minutes, a relatively weak cultivator was killed by Yu Hufeng. Even the two of them were no match for Yu Hufeng, let alone one. Under Murong Yu's gaze, the last person did not even have a chance to escape before he was cut down by Yu Hufeng. Two poor bastards. Why did you come out to rob when you don't have any skills? Yu Hufeng said disdainfully as he took the two people's space treasures from their bodies and checked them. However, even so, he still kept all of their belongings into his space treasure, as if they were treasures. He didn't leave a single one behind. How is it? Brother's strength isn't too bad, right? Returning to Murong Yu's side, Yu Hufeng flipped his hair coquettishly, then looked at Murong Yu with a smile on his face. However, Murong Yu's reaction left him speechless. In reality, Murong Yu didn't react at all. Although Yu Hufeng's strength wasn't too bad, it wasn't to the point where Murong Yu would be shocked. Not bad, let's go. As he spoke, Murong Yu took the lead and strode away. Yu Hufeng could only follow behind Murong Yu with a gloomy expression. Ding, ding. After the two of them walked for a long time, two crisp sounds came from the tokens in their hands at the same time. Kill 100 moon mask beasts, and you can proceed to the next destination. A message was transmitted from the token into Murong Yu's mind. At the same time, the appearance of a strange, ferocious beast appeared in his memory. It was a ferocious beast with 5 legs that looked like a crocodile, but also like a large lizard. This ferocious beast only existed in the Moon Mask Galaxy. Hence, it was called the Moon Mask Beast. However, although the Moon Mask Beast was ugly, its strength wasn't low. The strongest had even reached the peak of the creation realm. The most terrifying thing was that these Moon Mask Beasts lived in groups. Pull one hair and the whole body would be affected. Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng's expressions were somewhat grave. It wasn't that they couldn't find the Moon Mask Beast, but that the message had already included its location. Their expressions were grave because this ferocious beast was very difficult to deal with. Let's go take a look first. Yu Hufeng nodded at Murong Yu with a grave expression. Not long after, they crossed the boundless starry sky and arrived on a large planet. As soon as they arrived on this planet, a tyrannical aura appeared in their senses. Coincidentally, after arriving on this planet, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng immediately concealed themselves. Murong Yu actually knew how to conceal himself? Yu Hufeng expressed great surprise at this. However, those who could receive an invitation from the Rong family were all first-rate geniuses, so concealment wasn't a big deal. Thus, Yu Hufeng quickly felt that this was a very normal thing. That's great. We can both conceal ourselves. This way, we can secretly sneak over and kill those Moon Mask Beasts. Yu Hufeng laughed and sped forward. Boom! At this moment, a monstrous giant claw shattered the sky, carrying with it a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. It viciously slammed down on Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng. Before the giant claw slammed down, the power that it emitted caused the mountains near Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng to crumble, and the giant rocks were annihilated. Wah! Yu Hufeng let out a strange cry, and his body suddenly dashed forward. He directly dodged the Moon Mask Beast's attack. However, just as he heaved a sigh of relief, he suddenly realized something. The giant claw had enveloped him, and Murong Yu within its attack range. He had escaped, but what about Murong Yu? Yu Hufeng had a bad feeling. His body swayed, and he took a step forward, wanting to rush back to rescue Murong Yu. However, at this moment, a loud muffled sound came from behind him. It's over. Has Murong Yu been slapped to death? This poor child. Yu Hufeng silently mourned for Murong Yu in his heart, and at the same time, he looked back. However, with this look, he was given a fright. Murong Yu was standing on the spot, perfectly fine, and his expression did not change in the slightest. Meanwhile, not far in front of Murong Yu lay the corpse of a giant beast the size of a small mountain. Why did he say it was a corpse? Because Yu Hufeng could no longer sense any signs of life from this giant beast. A giant beast could not have died for no reason, right? In that case, he must have been killed by Murong Yu. However, when did Murong Yu's strength become so terrifying? This moon mask beast's strength was at least at the 5th level of the Genesis realm. No, why did it become so terrifying? He did not seem to have seen Murong Yu attack at all. Alright? He did not know at all what level Murong Yu's battle prowess was at. At this point, how could Yu Hufeng not understand? Murong Yu's expression had not changed all along the way. Murong Yu's expression had not changed at all. As it turned out, he was so powerful. While Yu Hufeng was looking at Murong Yu in shock, Murong Yu had already cut out the Moon Mask Beast's crystal core and stored it in the Hichu Luo Shu. This thing was proof. However, other than this crystal core, there was nothing else on the Moon Mask Beast's body. In addition, the Moon Mask Beast was really too ugly, so Murong Yu did not even have the desire to eat its flesh. Good lad. Yu Hufeng was about to sigh with emotion, but at this moment, terrifying roars came from afar, rising and falling one after another. Waves of extremely terrifying aura flooded over like a tidal wave. Run! Yu Hufeng's expression changed abruptly, and in a flash, he had already rushed a large distance away. Murong Yu did not stay in the same spot. Instead, he hid his figure and flew into the distance. It was obvious that the Moon Mask Beast's death had agitated the other Moon Mask Beasts. When a Moon Mask Beast army attacked, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng would be drowned. They would not be a match at all. Which bastard alerted so many Moon Mask Beasts? In a narrow and long valley not far from Murong Yu and the others, a graceful figure drew a beautiful shadow in the void and finally entered an inconspicuous cave in the valley. Further away, the expressions of the cultivators changed drastically as they quickly looked for a place to hide. When Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng had entered this planet, many people had already entered before them. However, they all knew that the Moon Mask Beast was difficult to deal with. Therefore, they usually waited carefully for an opportunity to kill it in one blow before making a move. In fact, Murong Yu had also directly killed that Moon Mask Beast in one blow. However, for some reason, it had agitated a large number of Moon Mask Beasts. At this moment, the entire planet was shrouded in the terrifying aura of the Moon Mask Beasts. Roars rose and fell one after another throughout the entire planet. Could it be that all the Moon Mask Beasts on this planet have been alerted? Why am I so unlucky? Yu Hufeng wailed as he fled. However, Murong Yu did not think so. It was not that Yu Hufeng was unlucky, but that the Moon Mask Beast they had killed might have been special. Could it be that the Moon Mask Beast was the prince or princess of the Moon Mask Beasts? Even if that was not the case, that Moon Mask Beast was definitely an important existence in the Moon Mask Beast horde. This thought suddenly flashed through Murong Yu's mind. Otherwise, how could killing an ordinary Moon Mask Beast alert all the Moon Mask Beasts on this planet? Chapter 2092. Damn it. I'm a god of bad luck. Why are those moon-masked beasts chasing us? Yu Hufeng said with grief and indignation as they fled. Ever since Murong Yu killed that moon-masked beast, they had been chased by the moon-masked beasts. Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng did not linger and chose to flee. However, no matter how they fled, even if they were invisible, the moon-masked beasts would chase after them. It was as if they knew the location of Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng. This made Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng very depressed. Thus, they rushed out of the planet. However, even so, those moon-masked beasts did not let them off. In the end, even more powerful moon-masked beasts chased after them. Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng were not slow, especially Murong Yu. He could teleport away through Hichu Luo Shu. However, their goal was to participate in the Rome family's meeting of heroes. Killing 100 moon-masked beasts was a qualification for them to participate in the meeting of heroes, or performance. Thus, they cannot leave just like that. Murong Yu, is it because you killed that moon-masked beast? Quickly throw away the crystal core of that moon-masked beast. On the way, Yu Hufeng seemed to suddenly realize something. This guy had always been so careless. Murong Yu rolled his eyes. I threw away the crystal core long ago. However, Those moon-masked beasts are still chasing after us. Yu Hufeng was depressed. Then what's going on? Could it be that we've all been contaminated by the moon-masked beast's aura or something? Murong Yu shrugged and disappeared in a flash. I'll enter the treasure space first. Yu Hufeng, you can fend for yourself. You bastard! How dare you abandon me? Yu Hufeng screamed and rushed into the He Too and the Book of the Luo. Whoosh! 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 Not long after, moon-masked beasts emitting terrifying auras flew over from afar. In the end, he stopped at the spot where Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng had disappeared and roared furiously. Rumble! After the moon-masked beast roared again and again, it launched a terrifying attack. Streaks of terrifying power annihilated the void. However, in the end, he did not manage to force out Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng. After half a day without any results, the moon concealment beast reluctantly retreated. Another 2 hours later, Murong Yu stepped out of the void in the distance. When he entered the Hichu Luo Shu, he immediately drove the Hichu Luo Shu to move. Otherwise, he would have been blasted out by the moon-masked beast attack. After Murong Yu appeared, he did not see Yu Hufeng. Another hour passed. Just when Murong Yu thought that Yu Hufeng had died a heroic death, a figure appeared in the void further away. Who else could it be but Yu Hufeng? Murong Yu's face darkened. This guy was too afraid of death, wasn't he? The distance he fled was several times that of Murong Yu. Therefore, he looked at Yu Hufeng with disdain as he walked over quickly. Don't look at me like that. I'm not used to being looked at by a man. Yu Hufeng laughed. He was quite thick-skinned. How's the cleaning of the remnant aura on your body? Murong Yu asked. After entering the Hichu Luo Shu, Murong Yu cleaned up the remnant aura on his body. Those moon concealment beasts were able to chase him all the way here. They must have followed the aura of the moon concealment beast that was killed earlier. Yu Hufeng nodded. Of course. I don't want to continue being hunted. Let's go. Let's hurry back. Just now, they chased after me for a long time. Let's go back and kill them all. Very good. You go and wipe them out all at once. I'll just pick up a few crystal cores behind you. Murong Yu looked at Yu Hufeng with disdain. Yu Hufeng smiled embarrassedly. If he really rushed into the depths of the planet, then it wouldn't be the moon concealment beasts that were killed, but the two of them, because he wasn't sure if the moon concealment beasts could still discover them. Therefore, when they entered the planet where the moon concealment beasts were, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng were very careful. However, it was obvious that they were being too careful. The moon concealment beasts couldn't discover them at all. This made them heave a sigh of relief. Thus, they began to hunt the moon concealment beasts. At this time, they had their eyes on a lone moon concealment beast. This was a moon concealment beast about the size of a small mountain. Its strength was about the 5th level of the Genesis realm. Yu Hufeng stopped and said, "The one who strikes first has the advantage. The crystal core belongs to whoever kills it." However, before he could finish speaking, Murong Yu had already turned into a stream of light and rushed out. Whoosh! Murong Yu took a step forward. The power of Shadow Step was activated, and he stepped on the moon concealment beast's shadow. He directly froze the moon concealment beast. Then he launched a soul attack. Saint Soul Slash. Plop! This moon concealment beast didn't even have time to react before its soul was slashed into pieces by Murong Yu. Compared to a 5th level Genesis realm cultivator, the moon concealment beast battle prowess wasn't bad. However, its methods were much weaker than cultivators. Furthermore, its soul was extremely weak and small. It couldn't effectively block Murong Yu's soul attack at all. After killing the moon concealment beast, Murong Yu neatly collected its crystal core. At this time, Yu Hufeng finally reacted. Brat, your speed is really not ordinary. Are you really only at the 3rd level of the Insight realm, and not the 5th or 6th level of the Genesis realm? Yu Hufeng sized up Murong Yu with a suspicious gaze. The strength that Murong Yu displayed was really shocking. How could a 3rd level Insight realm have such powerful battle prowess? Intuitively, Yu Hufeng felt that Murong Yu was at least at the 6th level of the Genesis realm. Murong Yu shrugged and couldn't be bothered to say anything to Yu Hufeng. After burning the moon concealment beast's corpse, he continued to search for other moon concealment beasts that were alone. More than 10 moon concealment beasts were cut open by Murong Yu, and their crystal cores were taken away. However, Yu Hufeng still hadn't killed a single moon concealment beast. It wasn't that he didn't want to make a move, but that he didn't have the chance to. Often, after encountering a moon concealment beast, Murong Yu would have already killed it before he could make a move. This made Yu Hufeng rather depressed. However, he was the one who said it, so it wasn't good for him to go back on his words. He just secretly increased his speed, strength, and vigilance to the limit. Shua! Yu Hufeng directly dashed out, and not far in front of him was a 4th-level Genesis Realm Moon Concealment Beast. Yu Hufeng, Murong Yu shouted. This time, I finally managed to snatch it once, right? Yu Hufeng laughed loudly in his heart. He didn't pay attention to Murong Yu at all, and continued to charge forward. He was afraid that it was Murong Yu's strange trick. After calling out to him, Murong Yu would take the opportunity to kill that moon concealment beast. Bang! At this moment, a huge claw smashed through the void and fiercely slapped over. Yu Hufeng was shocked. Just as he was about to react, his body slammed into the giant claw, as if he had slammed into it himself. Bang! Gotcha! The moment he slammed into it, Yu Hufeng clearly heard the sound of all the bones in his body breaking inch by inch. A strong force slammed into his body. Ah! Yu Hufeng let out an incomparably shrill cry as he was instantly sent flying. At this moment, another claw appeared out of thin air and smashed through the sky, ruthlessly slapping towards Yu Hufeng. It's over. Feeling the strength of this moon concealment beast, Yu Hufeng couldn't help but roar in anger and grief. Whoosh! Seeing that Yu Hufeng was about to be slapped into a pulp, Yi Zichen laughed. At this moment, a figure directly shot out from behind Yu Hufeng and ruthlessly slammed into the huge claw in front of him. Boom! After an earth-shattering sound, the huge claw was forcefully pushed back. However, the black shadow flew back and enveloped Yu Hufeng in an instant. Yu Hufeng sized up his surroundings and realized that he was enveloped in an extremely huge palace. Pooh! Just as Yu Hufeng was sizing up his surroundings, he was thrown out of the palace by a strong force and fell at Murong Yu's feet. It was obvious that Murong Yu had saved him. Yu Hufeng felt ashamed. Just as he was about to say something, Murong Yu had already taken a step forward. Holy Soul Slash! Murong Yu directly charged in front of that level 4 creation Realm Moon Concealment Beast. The power of Shadow Step was activated and directly stopped the opponent's attack. Then, with a Holy Soul Slash, he killed that Moon Concealment Beast. However, other than this Moon Concealment Beast, there were 2 other Moon Concealment Beasts. One was level 5 Creation Realm, and the other had even reached level 6 Creation Realm. Their cultivation levels were even higher than Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng's. Xiao! The Shadow Step Palace was once again sent out by Murong Yu. It floated in the air above his head, and rays of light descended, enveloping Murong Yu's entire person. At the same time, Murong Yu had already turned into a ray of light and charged towards that level 5 Creation Realm Moon Concealment Beast. The power of Shadow Step, soul power. Murong Yu relied on the Shadow Step Palace to forcefully resist the attack of that level 6 Creation Realm Moon Concealment Beast, and under Yu Hufeng's shock gaze, he killed that level 5 Creation Realm Moon Concealment Beast. In the end, Murong Yu even fought a great battle with the level 6 Creation Realm Moon Concealment Beast. Because of the Shadow Step Palace, although the Moon Concealment Beast attacks consumed quite a bit of Murong Yu's soul power each time, it could not harm Murong Yu at all. Meanwhile, Murong Yu's attacks continuously bombarded the Moon Concealment Beast's body and soul. After Yu Hufeng repaired every inch of his broken bones, Murong Yu's battle also ended. The level 6 Creation Realm Moon Concealment Beast was killed by Murong Yu. However, Murong Yu's face did not turn red, and his heart did not beat faster. After cleanly taking away the crystal cores of the 3 Moon Concealment Beasts, Murong Yu took the lead and flew into the distance. After Yu Hufeng was stunned for a moment, he also quickly chased after him. F***CK. Just what kind of background does this bastard have? Level 3 Insight Realm can actually kill a level 6 Creation Realm. Am I dreaming? Slap. Yu Hufeng fiercely slapped his face, but it was so painful that he grimaced. Chapter 2093. Murong Yu, there's a small group of a dozen moon mask beasts ahead. Can we kill them all at once? Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng were hiding on top of a small mountain. Looking at the small group of moon mask beasts at the foot of the mountain, Yu Hufeng couldn't help but ask. After seeing Murong Yu's terrifying battle strength, Yu Hufeng felt that Murong Yu was invincible. On the way, Murong Yu used his powerful strength to kill a few small groups of moon mask beasts. This made Yu Hufeng's confidence in Murong Yu soar. Killing a dozen moon mask beasts wasn't a problem, but the problem was that he couldn't kill them all in one hit. As a result, the roars of the moon mask beasts would attract more moon mask beasts nearby. At that time, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng would be chased by the moon mask beasts again. Shwa, shwa, shwa. At that moment, a sky full of sword rays suddenly fell from the sky and directly enveloped the dozen moon mask beasts. Pooh, pooh, pooh. After the sky full of sword rays, there was a sky full of blood mist. Not long after, the sword rays and blood mist both disappeared. Along with them, the dozen moon mask beasts also disappeared. Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng were shocked. To be able to kill a group of moon mask beasts in one hit, the person was definitely much stronger than them. Even Murong Yu felt his heart tremble at the sight of the sword rays that filled the sky. If it hit him, Murong Yu would have no other choice but to use the Shadow Step Palace to block it. Even if he could block it, his soul power would be greatly consumed. While Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng were shocked, a white-clothed woman with a long sword on her back slowly walked through the air. With a wave of her hand, the crystal cores of the moon mask beasts automatically flew into her hand. This is Kuqingwan, the woman in my heart. At that moment, Yu Hufeng suddenly exclaimed. Murong Yu turned his head and saw Yu Hufeng looking at the white-clothed woman in the distance with a dazed expression, as if he was infatuated. Even the corner of his mouth started to overflow with sparkling and translucent saliva. Murong Yu helplessly shook his head and turned to look at the white-clothed woman called Kuqingwan. Although this woman's looks were not bad, she was almost comparable to Zhao Jiqing. He should be on the same level as Yu Mengqing and the others. However, she didn't know if it was because Murong Yu was used to seeing beautiful women or if he didn't have any other thoughts. Looking at this devastatingly beautiful woman, he was actually unmoved. Kuqingwan was about to leave when she noticed Murong Yu's gaze. Actually, Yu Hufeng's burning gaze was too obvious. Thus, she looked over. Neither Murong Yu nor Yang Ming had concealed themselves, so Kuqingwan could see through them at a glance. Kuqingwan's eyes flashed with disdain when she saw Yu Hufeng's lecherous appearance. However, when she saw Murong Yu's clear eyes, she couldn't help but be slightly surprised. With her talent, her beauty, and her potential, which man in the Milky Way wouldn't be tempted by her? Almost every man who saw her was like Yu Hufeng. Thus, she was rather disdainful of such people. However, people like Murong Yu were extremely rare, almost non-existent. Kuqingwan took a deep look at Murong Yu, then floated away. Did you see that? The eyes of my heart are looking at me. Yu Hufeng suddenly became excited. Murong Yu was speechless. Wasn't this guy too infatuated? Seeing Murong Yu's disdainful gaze, Yu Hufeng looked at him with disdain. Are you not tempted? Why should I be tempted? Murong Yu was a little confused. Although Kuqingwan's looks were not bad, there weren't many women in the world who were as beautiful as her. However, she was definitely not the only one. Yu Mengqing and the others were similar to her. And Zhao Jiqing was even better. Her beauty, her background, her talent, her potential, all of them are among the top in the Milky Way star field. She is one of the top 10 beauties in the Milky Way star field. She is also one of the top 10 people who have the potential to reach the celestial realm. In the ranking of a younger generation in the Milky Way star field, she is ranked 5th. Murongyu's interest was immediately piqued. He was not interested in the top 10 beauties, but in the ranking of the younger generation. Seeing Murongyu's expression, Yu Hufeng was also excited and was about to explain who the top 10 beauties were. However, he was interrupted by Murongyu. What is the ranking of the younger generation in the Milky Way star field? Yu Hufeng was a little discouraged. You're not interested in the top 10 beauties? Murongyu shook his head honestly. Yu Hufeng looked at Murongyu with a puzzled gaze, then a strange smile appeared on his face. Don't tell me you like men? Murongyu sent Yu Hufeng flying with a kick. After Yu Hufeng's explanation, Murongyu had a preliminary understanding of the ranking of the young talents. The Milky Way star field had a 100 talents list, which meant that there were 100 young talents. These 100 young talents were the most outstanding of the younger generation in the Milky Way star field. There were both men and women. The reason why they were called the most outstanding and not the most powerful was because the 100 talents list was not only ranked based on combat power. Age, talent, background, potential, and other factors were a combination of factors. For example, if there were two people, one of them had a higher combat power. However, his talent, potential, and background were not as good as the person who had a lower combat power. Therefore, on the 100 talents list, he was ranked behind the person who had a lower combat power. In the end, the 100 talents list was not only based on one's strength, but also on one's family background. Of course, not everyone from a younger generation with a strong background was qualified to be on the 100 talents list. Those who could be on the 100 talents list were all exceptional geniuses. Otherwise, no matter how strong your background was, you could not be on the 100 talents list. For example, Ku Qingwan was ranked 5th on the 100 talents list. This was a rather terrifying ranking. Apart from her strong background, her talent, combat power, and potential were all very terrifying. Although she was only at the 8th level of the Genesis realm, her combat power had reached the peak of the Genesis realm. Most importantly, she was very young and had terrifying potential. She was one of the young people in the Milky Way star field who had the highest chance of reaching the celestial realm. Yu Hufeng, what's your rank on the 100 talents list? Murongyu looked at Yu Hufeng with a smile. Yu Hufeng's originally excited expression instantly dimmed. Don't mention it. 99th place. I'm practically at the bottom. Murongyu turned pale with fright. This was the ranking of the entire Milky Way star field. How many young cultivators were there in the entire Milky Way star field? To be able to be ranked at 99th place, this guy was still not satisfied? My background is SOSO. My talent, potential, and combat power are all SOSO. I'm not even close to a monster like you. Yu Hufeng said gloomily. Murongyu was instantly interested. I'm also qualified to be on the 100 talents list? Yu Hufeng nodded and did not speak immediately. Instead, he pondered. After a long time, he said slowly, putting aside your background, you're definitely the best in all other aspects. Who in the world could have the battle prowess to surpass an entire realm? I'm afraid you're the only one in the entire Milky Way star field. With this kind of talent and potential, no one on the 100 talents list can defeat you. If that's the case, you're definitely in the top 3, or even the first place. However, your combat power is only at the 5th or 6th level of the Genesis realm. Your combat power ranking is definitely below 95th place. Moreover, if you don't have a background, your ranking will be even lower. So, overall, if you're on the 100 talents list, you'll be in the top 20 or 30, or even the top 10. Don't even think about the top 10, unless your combat power has reached the celestial realm, or you have a good background. Murongyu shrugged. He did not care much for these empty titles. He knew that sooner or later, he would reach the celestial realm, or even a higher realm. Don't look so disdainful. The 100 talents list is not just an empty title, but also has substantial benefits. Those on the 100 talents list will receive preferential treatment when they walk in the Milky Way star field. Moreover, they have special abilities in certain aspects. For example, There are many secret realms in the Milky Way star field that only those on the 100 Talents list are qualified to enter. Anyway, there are many benefits. Moreover, the higher the ranking, the more benefits there are. If there were benefits, there was no harm in joining the 100 Talents list. But how did one join the 100 Talents list? It's actually very simple. You just have to pass the Occult Mystery Palace's certification. Occult Mystery Palace. The Occult Mystery Palace is a mysterious organization. The 100 Talents list and the Top 10 Beauties list are all issued by them. They have considerable authority. Some people say that the Occult Mystery Palace is a force jointly established by the 10 Celestial Realm elites. Otherwise, why would the 10 forces give face to the Occult Mystery Palace? In short, the Occult Mystery Palace is not only mysterious but also powerful. No one knows their identity. Okay, after this, we'll go find the Occult Mystery Palace for certification. Moronyu nodded. If there were benefits, he was not afraid of any trouble. In the following time, they continued to hunt moon mask beasts. The planet where the moon mask beasts were located was very large. Although people constantly entered here, it was basically very difficult to encounter them. And although the moon mask beasts were social animals, there were still some that were alone or in small groups. Under the cooperation of the two of them quickly gathered 100 moon mask beast crystal cores. They could leave now. However, just as the two of them were about to leave, they once again encountered the goddess in Yu Hufeng's heart, Kuching-wan. However, the current Kuching-wan was not very good. She was being hunted down by a group of peak Genesis realm moon mask beasts. Moronyu counted and found that there were only 20 peak Genesis realm moon mask beasts. There were also a large number of moon mask beasts of other levels. This scene was much more spectacular than the one when Moronyu and Yu Hufeng were chasing after them. How about it? Do you want to save your goddess? Moronyu said as he looked at Yu Hufeng. Yu Hufeng hurriedly shook his head. What kind of joke was this? Wasn't this courting death? However, they did not want to make a move, but someone was forcing them to, because at this time, Kuching-wan was already flying towards them. Chapter 2094. This woman's intentions are sinister. Yu Hufeng let out a strange cry and turned to flee with Moronyu. What kind of joke was this? There were so many peak Genesis realm moon mask beasts. If they dared to stay here, they would definitely die. They wouldn't even have a chance to retaliate. And although Kuching-wan was only at the 8th level of the Genesis realm, she had the strength of a peak Genesis realm. With her speed, she should be able to escape. Even if she wasn't a match for those moon mask beasts, it shouldn't be a problem for her to keep her life. Moreover, Moronyu wasn't related to her in any way. Moreover, this woman seemed to want to drag them down with her. Swish! Swish! Moronyu and Yu Hufeng rushed into their respective treasure spaces at the same time. They had quite a tacit understanding. The instant they entered their treasure spaces, several extremely powerful divine senses tore through the void and swept past the treasure spaces. Moronyu and Yu Hufeng broke out in cold sweat. If they had been a moment late, they would have been locked down by those Genesis realm moon mask beasts. At that time, there would be no way to escape. Seeing Moronyu and Yu Hufeng react so quickly, Kuching-wan couldn't help but snort coldly. Originally, she had intended to head toward Moronyu and Yu Hufeng. She wanted to shift the moon mask beast aggro, but she didn't expect that Moronyu and Yu Hufeng would see through her so quickly. In the end, she only swept past their treasures. She didn't attack. After all, she couldn't go too far. That would make her seem too vicious, and it didn't match her status. After Kuching-wan and the moon mask beast were far away, Moronyu came out of the Hichu Luo Shu. However, Yu Hufeng still hadn't appeared. Moronyu found Yu Hufeng's spatial treasure and fiercely punched it. Swish! Yu Hufeng appeared in time and looked at Moronyu with resentment. Kuching-wan is being chased by these moon mask beasts. She must have touched their reverse scale, or a treasure or something. Should we go back and take a look? Yu Hufeng nodded fiercely and shot out first. In reality, they were just guessing. Perhaps Kuching-wan had stolen a treasure guarded by the moon mask beast and escaped with it. Or perhaps he hadn't made a move yet. However, no matter what, Morongyu had to go and check it out. With their bodies hidden, Morongyu and his companion moved as fast as they could. Perhaps because of Ko Ching-wan, they encountered many moon mask beasts along the way. However, they managed to avoid all of them. Finally, they entered the moon mask beast's lair. After searching for a while, Morongyu and Lu Li did not find any treasures. Thus, he decided to sneak into the heavily guarded depths. The strongest moon mask beast was only at the peak of the creation realm. In their nest, aside from the moon mask beasts that were chasing after Ko Ching-wan, there were also 5 moon mask beasts that had reached the peak stage of the creation realm. These moon mask beasts were different from cultivators. Cultivators could conceal their auras. However, their auras of the peak stage of the creation realm were completely exposed. Thus, Morongyu and Lu Li quickly determined their positions. They were divided into 5 positions, firmly guarding the moon mask beast's lair. While hiding, Morongyu suddenly caught a whiff of a delicate fragrance coming from afar. It was faint and intermittent. However, the fragrance caused Morongyu's mind to tremble. His cultivation also seemed to have increased by a tiny bit. Even his soul power had improved a little. What treasure! Morongyu was shocked and immediately quickened his pace. On the other hand, Yu Hufeng continued to fly forward without making a single move. As they continued to move forward, that fragrance became stronger and stronger. And they also discovered that the further they went, the more luxuriant the trees, flowers, and the like grew. In fact, those ordinary flowers, and trees were filled with spirituality, becoming similar to some natural treasures. This should all be due to the influence of that unknown thing that was emitting the fragrance. Regarding this, Morongyu became more and more expectant. Even ordinary flowers, and trees were affected and became natural treasures. If they were swallowed and refined by him, very quickly, something that looked like a pool of water appeared in front of them. The pool of water wasn't very big. It was about 10 square meters in size, and it was unknown how deep it was. The pool of water was filled with liquid. It was the kind of milky white liquid that looked like milk. The delicate fragrance that Morongyu had smelled earlier was emitted from this milky white liquid. This should be the treasure in the moon mask beast's lair. Morongyu clearly felt that his cultivation and even his soul power were rapidly increasing. Although the extent of each increase was extremely small. However, it was still much better than Morongyu's automatic cultivation under normal circumstances. This was still the influence of the fragrance emitted by that liquid. What if he directly swallowed that liquid? Morongyu was tempted. Splash! Morongyu was still tempted, but at this moment, a black shadow had already jumped into the pool of water. Who else could it be but Yu Hifeng? This guy. Morongyu couldn't help but shake his head. Fortunately, there weren't any moon mask beasts guarding nearby. Perhaps the moon mask beasts felt that this was their lair and that it was safe and secure, and that no one could break in. Thus, Morongyu also jumped in. The moment he jumped in, the milky white liquid desperately drilled into Morongyu's body. The milky white liquid that drilled into Morongyu's body immediately liquefied and became a torrent of power. Then, it directly increased Morongyu's strength. Just like this, Morongyu's strength was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Awesome! This kind of rapid increase in strength without having to cultivate is not an ordinary kind of awesome. Moreover, my physical body is also becoming stronger and stronger. Even my soul is starting to become stronger. Yu Hifeng let out a comfortable moan. Ha! With a single slap, Morongyu sent the idiot to the bottom of the lake. Can you keep a low profile? Once you attract those moon mask beasts at the peak of the Genesis realm, not to mention those moon mask beasts, even if a group of level 8 or even level 7 moon mask beasts comes, you will have to obediently run for your life. Yu Hifeng originally wanted to fly into a rage, but after hearing Morongyu's words, he could only remain silent. In the end, he only glanced at Morongyu with hidden bitterness, then began to circulate his power and cultivate here. Under the circumstances of cultivation, the milky white liquid entered their bodies at an even greater speed. Under such circumstances, Murong clearly saw that the two spirit balls in his soul space were rotating at a speed several dozen times faster than normal. Several dozen times faster rotation speed was equivalent to several dozen times faster cultivation speed under normal circumstances. Originally, Murong's cultivation speed was already fast enough, and now that it had increased several dozen times, it was even more terrifying. Thus, his cultivation level was increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, after being crazily swallowed and refined by Murong and Yu Hifeng, those milky white liquids were also rapidly being consumed, and with every passing moment, the water surface sank quite a bit. Very quickly, Murong's cultivation and physical body had already increased to the peak of level 3 insight realm. Because of his soul, if his soul could not break through to level 3 insight realm, his physical body and cultivation could not continue to increase. In other words, he had reached a bottleneck again. Even Murong, this big eater, was like this. What more Yu Hifeng, whose appetite was not as big as his. After a period of silence, at the peak of level 5 of the Genesis realm, Yu Hifeng directly broke through. He rushed to level 6 of the Genesis realm in one go. Although Yu Hifeng was excited, he also knew the situation here. Therefore, there wasn't much of a commotion during the breakthrough. Everything continued quietly. Although the pool was not big, it seemed to be very deep. After Yu Hifeng broke through, there was still a lot of milky, white liquid left. However, Yu Hifeng was not a freak like Murong, after all. After increasing by a small realm, the speed of his cultivation still slowed down a lot. However, it was still increasing. On the other side, after his cultivation and physical body could not continue to increase, Murong put all his energy into increasing his soul realm. Gathering all the resources to increase his soul realm, Murong's soul realm cultivation speed skyrocketed again. It had almost reached 100 times more terrifying than under normal circumstances. Thus, one big and one small soul realm, the small soul realm rapidly grew. When it grew to a certain point, this planet shook fiercely. Murong instantly felt that his soul was 100 times stronger than before. This was the sign after breaking through. That's right, Murong's soul realm broke through again, reaching level 3 of the insight realm. Long. Originally, Murong's cultivation and physical body had already reached the peak, reaching the extreme. It was only because of the restriction of his soul that he could not continue to increase. Thus, when his soul broke through, his cultivation and physical body that had been suppressed all this time naturally broke through. Level 4 of the insight realm. Like I said, even I broke through. Why can't you break through? However, after you broke through, I can't see through you anymore. Yu Hifeng looked at Murong with hidden bitterness. He seemed eager to fight Murong, as if he wanted to fight him. The two of you. At this moment, an angry voice came from not far away. This was a voice that was like the sound of nature. However, it was filled with murderous intent. A terrifying murderous intent directly enveloped Murong and Yu He. There was someone. Murong and Yu Hifeng were shocked. They instantly increased their strength and looked towards the source of the voice. Then, the two of them were stunned. There was someone, and it was a great beauty and also someone they knew. Kuqingwan. It was Kuqingwan who had left and returned. At this moment, Kuqingwan's pretty face was cold and murderous. It was not easy for her to lure away those moon-masked beasts and then sneak back secretly. Her goal was this pool of primeval essence. However, she did not expect that her hard work and scheming would benefit someone else. She had made a wedding dress for someone else. Now, in the entire pool, there was probably only a bowl of primeval essence left. How could Kuqingwan not be angry? Chapter 2095. A terrifying killing intent enveloped Murong and Yu Hifeng, causing their hearts to tremble. Although Kuqingwan was only at the 8th stage of a Genesis tier, she had the battle prowess of a peak stage Genesis tier. Even if Murong Yu and Yu Huffing's cultivation levels had increased, they were still no match for her. Whoosh! At once, Murong Yu unleashed the Shadow Step Palace, protecting him and Yu Huffing. He did not know Kuqingwan, so it was hard to guarantee that Kuqingwan would not attack them. With their strength, if Kuqingwan suddenly attacked, they would not be able to resist at all. When he unleashed the Shadow Step Palace, Murong Yu even devoured the remaining primeval true essence, leaving not a single drop. Seeing this, Kuqingwan was even more furious. Her pretty face was flushed red with anger. Return the primeval true essence to me. Finally, Kuqingwan still flipped out. With a shout, she directly attacked. A terrifying power exploded from her palms, enveloping Murong Yu and Yu Huffing, and then ruthlessly attacking them. Kill! Murong Yu and Yu Huffing exchanged a look and simultaneously attacked. Boom! After an earth-shattering explosion, Murong Yu and Yu Huffing were directly sent flying. On the other hand, Kuqingwan's figure didn't even sway. However, because of the Shadow Step Palace, Murong Yu and Yu Huffing were not injured either. They were only slightly affected, and their chi and blood were surging. If it were not for the Shadow Step Palace, Murong Yu and Yu Huffing would probably have been directly killed. The battle prowess of a peak stage Genesis tier was no joke. Seeing that Murong Yu and Yu Huffing were actually not injured, a hint of surprise involuntarily flashed across Kuqingwan's eyes. However, if that was the case, her anger would grow even stronger. Taking a step forward, she had already turned into a streak of light, attacking Murong Yu and Yu Huffing. Run! Murong Yu shouted at Yu Huffing through voice transmission. At the same time, he had already turned around and shot toward the back. Although he could temporarily block Kuqingwan's attack and not be injured, he could not do anything to her. But every time Kuqingwan attacked, his spiritual strength would be greatly depleted. Therefore, he could not fight for too long. Moreover, this was not some random place, and there were still 5 moon mask beasts at the peak stage of the Genesis tier nearby. If they also rushed over, it would be difficult for Murong Yu to escape. Swish! Just as Murong Yu turned around and fled, 5 huge waves of divine sense shot out from 5 different directions. At the same time, 5 terrifying auras broke through the void and shot over. It was very obvious that the 5 peak stage creation realm moon mask beasts that had been left behind to guard their nest had already been alerted by the commotion caused by their clash just now, and were now flying over. Once they discovered that the primordial true essence had been completely stolen, they would most likely fly into a rage. Stepping on the Shadow Palace, Murong Yu's speed was as fast as flying. However, Kuqingwan was like a shadow attached to the body, continuously attacking in the process of chasing. Wave after wave of power continuously bombarded the Shadow Palace. Although it had been dispelled, Murong Yu's spiritual strength was rapidly depleted. This woman is really ruthless. Why is she chasing after me and attacking me? Yu Huffing cried out, extremely gloomy. Although Kuqingwan was attacking the 2 of them, it was very obvious that the majority of her power was locked onto him. Who asked her to be the goddess in your heart? Murong Yu said with a smile, but his expression was somewhat grave. At this moment, the space around him was disturbed, and he was completely unable to enter the Hichu Luo Shu. Otherwise, he would rush headfirst into the turbulent space. And in such a short time, those 5 peak stage creation realm moon mass beasts were already far away from them. Roar! After a shocking roar, a monstrous giant claw tore through the void, fiercely slamming down from the heavens. It enveloped Murong Yu and the others, wanting to slap them to death. Kuqingwan's pretty face was icy, and she slashed her sword at the giant claw that was wildly slamming down. Boom! The giant claw was directly shattered into pieces. Roar! A shrill scream came from afar, shaking Murong Yu and Yu Huffing so much that their chi and blood surged like rivers and seas. Their entire bodies were almost sent flying by the roar. Whoosh! 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 5 giant claws shattered the void, fiercely slamming down from the heavens. However, this time, the 5 moon mask beasts' main attacks landed on Kuqingwan, and they basically gave up on Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng. After all, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng's strength was really too weak in the eyes of the moon mask beasts. Only Kuqingwan was a huge threat to them. Ferocious beasts were simple-minded, and they would attack whoever posed the greatest threat to them first. Thus, Kuqingwan was met with a tragedy. The 5 moon mask beasts all charged toward her. However, even so, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng did not have it easy. Even if the moon mask beasts did not attack them, the aftershock of their power was enough to make them suffer. Let's leave this place first. Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng looked at each other, then shot forward together. After a few steps, their figures disappeared from the sight of Kuqingwan and the moon mask beasts. Invisibility. Kuqingwan was even more furious. As she shouted, she attacked aggressively, and in an instant, she forced a moon mask beast in front of her to retreat. However, the other 4 moon mask beasts had already attacked her. For a moment, Kuqingwan could not leave at all, and she was entangled by the moon mask beasts. Even though she was strong, there were 5 moon mask beasts. With 5 times her combat power, she could not kill them in a short time. Moreover, because of Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng's relationship, Kuqingwan's heart was burning with rage, and she almost lost her mind. That was close. Let's get out of here quickly. After leaving Kuqingwan's battlefield far away, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng both appeared. And Yu Hufeng's expression was even more exaggerated. Kuqingwan is your goddess. Don't you plan to save her? Murong Yu looked at Yu Hufeng with disdain. Yu Hufeng hurriedly shook his head. She's just my goddess, not my woman. Why should I save her? Moreover, didn't you see her chasing after me? If I still want to save her like this, I would be too stupid. Murong Yu was even more disdainful. So many excuses. You just don't have the strength, okay? I can guarantee that if you also had the battle prowess of a peak Genesis tier, you would definitely run back. Yu Hufeng glared at Murong Yu. What I hate the most in my life is being exposed. As they chatted and laughed, the two of them had already rushed into the sky. Now that the mission had been completed and the primeval essence had been completely devoured by them, they had obtained enormous benefits. If they did not leave now, when would they? As they left, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng discovered that the moon mask beast elites that had originally been chasing after Kuqingwan had already rushed back murderously. My goddess, you can stop. Yu Hufeng silently mourned for Kuqingwan in his heart, but he had no intention of rushing back to help at all. This made Murong Yu feel quite disdainful. As for Murong Yu himself, he had no intention of saving her at all. Apart from the fact that his strength did not allow him to get involved, he did not have any friendship with that Kuqingwan at all. Moreover, Kuqingwan wanted to kill him. Thus, the group of people left this place and flew towards their next destination. What Murong Yu did not know was that not long after they left, a riot occurred on the moon mask beast planet. All the moon mask beasts attacked crazily. Those geniuses who had entered this place to do missions were met with tragedy. Some people did not even know what was going on, and had already become ghosts under the claws of the moon mask beasts, dying without knowing why. As for whether Kuqingwan had managed to escape in the end, that was not what Murong Yu needed to care about. Along the way, there would be powerhouses attacking and killing. Because they were afraid of trouble, Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng did not take the shortest route to the next destination. Instead, they went in a big circle before finally appearing at the next destination, Dao Comprehension Planet. Dao Comprehension Planet was actually a barren small planet, and there were usually no cultivators at all. But now it was very lively because this was a node on the way to the Rong family's meeting of heroes. There was no need to kill any ferocious beasts here, only cultivation. That's right, everyone was cultivating here. Cultivating the same cultivation method, and if they succeeded in the limited time, they could continue to the Rong family's meeting of heroes. Wasn't it just participating in a meeting of heroes? Why was there so much trouble? As soon as Murong Yu and Yu Huffing entered Dao Comprehension Planet, they heard a cultivator muttering unhappily. Murong Yu just smiled his heart. He already knew what the Roan family was planning. Along the way, there were people attacking and killing, but the Roan family did not stop them. Then, if these geniuses wanted to successfully reach the Roan family's meeting of heroes, in addition to a certain amount of strength, they also needed luck. To kill the Moon Concealment Beast, in addition to testing a person's strength, it also tested whether that person had courage and perseverance. And the cultivation method here tested the person's comprehension ability. It could be imagined that after passing this checkpoint, there would definitely be other checkpoints behind. What the Roan family wanted were true geniuses, not mediocre people who were bragged about. In Dao Comprehension Planet, fighting was forbidden, and it was even more forbidden for other experts to enter. Otherwise, it would be against the will of the heavens. This was the Roan family's way of giving the challengers a quiet and stable place to cultivate. There were only 10 days. If they could not comprehend the cultivation method and successfully cultivate it within 10 days, they would be kicked out. This was what Murong Yu said when he received the cultivation method from a disciple of the Roan family. Looking at the jade slip in his hand, Murong Yu did not hesitate to use his divine sense to explore it. In the next moment, Murong Yu was stunned. He originally thought that this cultivation method was very profound and obscure, but he did not expect that it was just an ordinary handprint. A handprint without any offensive or defensive power. What's going on? Why is this handprint so difficult? Yu Hufeng's voice sounded in Murong Yu's ears. Murong Yu looked at Yu Hufeng in surprise. How was this handprint difficult? He did not know how simple it was. Could it be that everyone's handprint was different? Thus, Murong Yu looked over. It was the same handprint, but it was really not difficult. Murong Yu looked around in confusion. Around him, many so-called geniuses were sitting cross-legged, all frowning, as if the handprint they were cultivating was very difficult. Chapter 2096. Yu Hufeng. Is this handprint really that difficult? Murong Yu stared at Yu Hufeng with a strange expression. Yu Hufeng rolled his eyes. Let's not talk about it anymore. We only have 10 days. If I can't succeed in 10 days, I'll be kicked out. Brother, do it on your own. With that, Yu Hufeng sat down cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. Bang! At that moment, Murong Yu noticed that the jade slip in the hand of a person who was cultivating not far from him suddenly exploded into millions of pieces. Sigh! The person stood up and sighed with a pale face. Then, without hesitation, he soared into the sky and rushed out of the planet. The jade slip that the Roan family gave them not only recorded the handprint, but also had timer. Once 10 days were up, the jade slip would automatically shatter. Once the jade slip shattered, they could leave on their own, unless they had already cultivated the handprint. Obviously, that person did not succeed in cultivating the handprint. Therefore, he could only leave on his own. Once he left, it meant that he could not continue with the Roan family's meeting of heroes. That person, even those who could not cultivate the handprint, refused to leave. However, the Roan family was backed by Tianming. Who dared to be impudent here? Were they not afraid of being slapped to death by Tianming? Murong Yu also pretended to sit down cross-legged and began to cultivate. This handprint was very simple. In less than an hour, Murong Yu had already succeeded in cultivating it and was even very skilled in using it. However, in order to not appear too heaven-defying, Murong Yu still pretended that he had not succeeded and was still working hard. During this process, many of the so-called geniuses left in disappointment. Of course, there were also many who entered. 2 hours after Murong Yu entered Enlightenment Planet, a figure shot over from afar. Before this person came close to the planet, Murong Yu had already opened his eyes and looked over. Kuqingwan. Murong Yu's heart skipped a beat. This woman was not killed by the moon-masked beast. He was really lucky. When Murong Yu looked at Kuqingwan also looked over. When he saw Murong Yu and Yu Hufeng, his face, which was originally as calm as a lake, was instantly filled with boundless anger. However, Kuqingwan wasn't blinded by her anger. She knew where she was. Therefore, she only glared fiercely at Murong and Yu huffing before flying down to receive the jade slip. At this time, many people had already noticed Ku Qingwan's existence. Ku Qingwan was not only ranked 5th on the 100 Talents list, but also one of the top 10 beauties in the Milky Way star field. Therefore, some people were already thinking about how to strike up a conversation with her. However, Ku Qingwan walked straight to Murong and Yu Huffing's side. Long time no see. Ku Qingwan sat down next to Murong. At the same time, a charming smile appeared on her face. Murong-Yu's heart thumped. He wasn't even close to Ku Qingwan, okay? This woman was plotting something. Whoosh! Just as this thought appeared in Murong-Yu's mind, countless murderous gazes were directed at him. Each of them was filled with murderous intent, as if they couldn't wait to kill Murong-Yu. Murong-Yu was shocked. He finally realized what Ku Qingwan was up to. This woman had a powerful background, strength, and beauty. She definitely had a lot of suitors. Now that she was purposely being so close to Murong-Yu, wouldn't she be mocked by Murong-Yu? She would definitely be attacked by everyone. How sinister! Murong-Yu sneered in his heart. He then reached out his right hand and hugged Ku Qingwan in his arms. Ku Qingwan's entire body stiffened, and her head exploded with a boom. This was the first time she was so close to a man. Moreover, she had only met this man a few times. Most importantly, they weren't friends. They were enemies. This man was too daring. Just as Ku Qingwan was about to flip out, she heard Murong-Yu say, "Wife, why are you only here now? Your husband has been waiting for you for a long time." Wife, husband. Ku Qingwan stared blankly at Murong-Yu. Her body trembled with anger. Except for Ku Qingwan, everyone else looked at Murong-Yu and Ku Qingwan in shock. When did their goddess get married? Moreover, the one she married was an unknown little cultivator. This was simply a flower stuck in cow dung. The good cabbage was eaten by the pig. "Miss Ku, do you think he's threatening you? I'll take care of him for you." A roar came from behind Murong-Yu. A huge man stepped forward with a murderous aura. Murong-Yu turned to look at the huge man. Then, he sneered, "You idiot. Don't you know that my wife has a powerful background and power? Do you think I can threaten her?" That's right. Murong-Yu is only at the insight realm. How could he threaten Ku Qingwan, who was at the peak of the creation realm? Murong-Yu must have caught Ku Qingwan's weakness. This thought flashed through everyone's minds. However, who was Ku Qingwan? Even if she had something on him, she could easily kill Murong-Yu. These thoughts were all rejected. The surrounding people angrily discovered that apart from Ku Qingwan being willing to marry Murong-Yu, there was no other possibility. Thinking of this, the surrounding people became even angrier. However, if Ku Qingwan was really willing to marry Murong-Yu, then they couldn't touch Murong-Yu. Who dared to touch Ku Qingwan's husband? Thus, the originally murderous prodigies didn't do anything. However, their desire to kill Murong-Yu didn't decrease. Instead, it increased. As long as they killed Murong-Yu, then Ku Qingwan would become a widow. Once Ku Qingwan became a widow, then wouldn't they have a chance? Ku Qingwan had everything. They didn't care if Ku Qingwan was a withered woman. Seeing everyone's expressions, Ku Qingwan knew that she was done for. This time, she wouldn't be able to clear her name. "Wife, I know that absence makes the heart grow fonder. However, I have to participate in the Rong family's meeting of heroes now. Thus, after I successfully cultivate this hand seal, I'll consummate with you." Consummate. Hearing this, the surrounding people's hearts trembled. In fact, the image of their goddess being wantonly abused by Murong-Yu appeared in their minds. This made them burn with anger. Ku Qingwan's expression turned cold. She pushed Murong-Yu away and left by herself. If she continued to stay with this shameless Murong-Yu, her reputation would be completely ruined. However, it seemed that it was about time. However, in the eyes of the surrounding people, Ku Qingwan was angry because she wasn't satisfied with Murong-Yu's arrangement. "This bastard, if it were me, I would have consummated with him immediately. He's hugging his goddess, but doesn't want to do what he loves to do." The surrounding people gritted their teeth as they looked at Murong-Yu. They wished that they could transform into Murong-yu. Murong-yu not bad. At this moment, Yu Huffeng's voice rang in Murong-yu's ears. You bastard, are you done pretending? Murong-yu scolded Yu Huffeng telepathically. This guy had already noticed Ku Qingwan's arrival. However, he pretended to be cultivating and didn't wake up. He was afraid that he would be targeted by Ku Qingwan. From today onwards, you will become the enemy of all men in the Milky Way. Be prepared to be challenged by countless experts. Yu Huffeng laughed, taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. Do you want me to tell them that you have a part in it too? Murong-yu smiled at Yu Huffeng. Yu Huffeng's body trembled, and he immediately shut up. If that was the case, he would be torn to pieces by the male cultivators in the Milky Way. He would rather watch as Murong-yu was torn to pieces. Just as Yu Huffeng said, not long after, the news that Ku Qingwan had become someone's wife spread throughout the Milky Way due to the departure of those who failed to cultivate the handprint. At the same time, portraits of Ku Qingwan's husband, Murong-yu, were all over the sky. In one night, Murong-yu was in the limelight in the Milky Way star field. Of course, if possible, Murong-yu wasn't willing to be in the limelight. It was too dangerous to be in the limelight. How many people in the Milky Way star field were clamoring to kill Murong-yu? Murong-yu had become the public enemy of all the male cultivators in the Milky Way star field. 5 days later, Ku Qingwan walked to Murong-yu's side with a cold expression. What's your name? Murong-yu just glanced at her indifferently and ignored her. I'll remember you. Seeing that Murong-yu ignored her, Ku Qingwan gritted her teeth and turned to leave. She had already successfully cultivated the handprint. You my wife. Of course you remember me. What's the point of not remembering me? Murong-yu's teasing voice came from behind her, causing the suppressed anger in Ku Qingwan's heart to rise again. However, in the end, Ku Qingwan left quickly. As long as she broke through to the celestial realm, there would be no more gossip. After she became the 12th celestial realm expert in the Milky Way star field, who would dare to gossip about her? From time to time, the people on Tao Comprehension Star would look at Murong-yu with murderous gazes. However, Murong-yu had long since gotten used to it, let alone these gazes. Even when facing them, he had never been afraid. However, he still didn't leave. Yu Huffeng, this tragic child, hadn't successfully cultivated the handprint yet. He was thinking about whether to help this poor child. On the 9th day, "Ha, I've finally succeeded." Yu Huffeng suddenly opened his eyes. As he laughed, he blasted out a set of handprints. Although it was still a little rough, he had succeeded. I've also succeeded. Let's leave here quickly. Murong-yu stood up at the right time. Chapter 2097. Yu Huffeng looked at Murong-yu gloomily. How could it be so coincidental that Murong-yu succeeded in cultivating after he did? Obviously, he had succeeded in cultivating long ago. At this moment, Yu Huffeng looked rather sad. He was originally a peerless genius, but compared to Murong-yu, he was just a pile of mud on the side of the road. He was nothing. This made him very hurt. Therefore, he looked at Murong-yu with resentment. Murong-yu's hair stood on end from Murong-yu's stare, so he sent a kick over. However, Yu Huffeng dodged it. The two of them left Enlightenment Star and followed the guidance of the token to the next location. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Not long after the two of them left Enlightenment Star, several figures appeared beside them and surrounded them. Each of them looked ferocious and murderous, as if they wanted to eat Murong-yu alive. Your love rival is here. He elbowed Murong-yu and said with a smile, These idiots, do they think that Ku Qingwan will remarry after I'm dead? Do they have a chance? That's impossible. Murong-yu sneered. Yu Huffeng rolled his eyes and was speechless. Murong-yu said it as if he was really Ku Qingwan's husband. But in fact, he was not, okay? His words only made those people angrier. As expected, those people who were already angry became even angrier after hearing Murong-yu's words. One of them roared angrily and took a step forward, pouncing over to kill. A cold light flashed past Murong-yu's eyes. These people were not very strong, but they thought that he was easy to bully because of his low cultivation level. Therefore, he also rushed forward. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already collided together. After a dull sound, a cloud of blood instantly exploded in the void. It was very poignant. What an idiot, actually daring to collide with a freak like Morongyu. He's simply courting death. Yu Hufeng sneered. He had seen how strong Murongyu's physical body was. However, Yu Hufeng only knew that Murongyu's physical body was strong, but he did not know that Murongyu's physical body had already reached the level of the 4th stage of the Insight Realm. Even a high-level Creation Realm cultivator's physical body could not compare to Murongyu's. Moreover, Murongyu's battle prowess had already reached the peak of the 6th stage of the Creation Realm. In terms of battle prowess, Murongyu had already suppressed the other. In a situation where Murongyu's battle prowess was inferior to his physical body couldn't even withstand a single blow. At the same time, when his physical body was crushed, his soul was smashed. He was directly knocked to death. Seeing this scene, other than Murongyu and Yu Hufeng, the rest of the people were all shocked. Murongyu's battle prowess was really too heaven-defying. However, everyone present was a peerless genius in the Milky Way star field, and their reaction speed was top-notch. They reacted very quickly. After a furious roar, everyone simultaneously unleashed a terrifying amount of power, which poured down on Murongyu and Li Wuyo in an attempt to kill them. Yu Hufeng's eyes turned cold. These people were really courting death. Therefore, he also made a strong move. And Murongyu was even faster. In a flash, he had already rushed to the side of one of the people. The power of Shadow Step was activated, and Murongyu stepped on that person's shadow. In an instant, that person was frozen in place. Even the strength room was frozen. Murongyu did not show any mercy, and a punch containing his strongest attack fiercely bombarded the other party's body. With a bang, that person's physical body and soul were smashed into smithereens. He could not be more dead. After killing that person with one punch, Murongyu took a step forward, and when he reappeared, he was already stepping on another person's shadow. The person's body was suddenly frozen, and before he could react in shock, he was killed by Murongyu. At this time, Yu Hufeng did not even kill a single person. One could imagine how big the gap between him and Murongyu was. And this was because Murongyu did not use his soul attack. Otherwise, he would have thrown a soul storm, and these people would have been killed instantly. However, that would have been too shocking, so Murongyu didn't do it. Under the cooperation of Murongyu and Yu Hufeng, these people surrounding Murongyu were all killed before they could even react. Their speed and strength were beyond everyone's expectations. Yu Hufeng kept everyone's treasure space into his own treasure space, then clapped his hands, a satisfied look on his face. Murongyu, you know how to be a good person. If anyone dares to attack you next time, I will definitely continue to help you kill them. Murongyu glanced at Yu Hufeng with disdain, but did not say anything. If it were not for someone attacking him, this guy would not have done anything at all. All right? Moreover, it was not because Murongyu generously gave those people's treasure space to Yu Hufeng. It was because this guy's speed was too fast, and he took away those treasure space at lightning speed. Murongyu could not possibly rob them. Could he? Whoosh. After looking at Yu Hufeng with disdain, Murongyu's figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already on a planet not far away. In front of Murongyu, a cultivator with a shocked expression appeared. I was just passing by. That person was stunned. He had been hiding here to ambush Murongyu, but he did not know how Murongyu had discovered him. I was also passing by. Murongyu smiled, and a saint's soul slash directly blasted over. This person was frozen in place. How could he resist? He was directly killed by Murongyu. There are many people who want me dead, but usually the one who dies is not me. Murongyu's cold voice was filled with killing intent. Countless cultivators hiding in the dark felt their souls tremble. Although these people were all geniuses of the Milky Way star field, not all of them were as strong as Ku Qingwan. Moreover, powerful geniuses like Ku Qingwan had already passed these levels and reached the next level. After intimidating these people, Murong and Yu Huffing left the area. On the way, no one came to find trouble. This made Yu Huffing quite depressed. Because no one came to find trouble, he did not have any unexpected gains. The Missing Moon Galaxy was one of the galaxies in the Milky Way star field. Murong and Yu Huffing appeared on the Missing Moon planet of the Missing Moon Galaxy. This was the last level to enter the Rong family's meeting of heroes. The reason why Murong and Yu Huffing knew was because the Rong family's token had already stated it. Moreover, the token also stated that only by successfully cultivating that hand seal would one be qualified to enter the Rong family. Otherwise, even if one got the identity token, they would not be able to participate in the meeting of heroes. You are Murong? Murong and Yu Huffing had just entered the Missing Moon planet when a youth with a face full of arrogance walked up and looked at Murong with disdain. 4th level Insight Realm? I really don't understand why Kuchingwan would marry a trash like you. You don't deserve to have the beauty. So, you can go die, the youth muttered to himself and threw a punch at Murong. The killing intent in Murong's heart soared. This was the first time he met this youth, and he wanted to kill him? What grudge did he have? Since that was the case, then he would just kill him. Murong's figure flickered as he took another step forward. The youth was a 7th level Genesis Realm genius. Seeing Murong, this little cultivator actually dared to fight back. The disdain on his face became more and more intense. However, rather suddenly, his body and even the power in his body seemed to be frozen. What was going on? The youth was extremely shocked. At the same time, his soul trembled violently. An extremely strong aura of death shrouded his entire heart. Saint Soul Slash. Murong directly launched his strongest soul attack. The terrifying soul power rushed into the young man's soul space like a stormy sea and drowned his soul in an instant. Without power, the youth's soul couldn't even withstand a single blow. It was directly blasted into smithereens. When launching the soul attack, Murong had already taken out the weapon shards. When a youth's soul was blasted into smithereens, the weapon shards had already blasted the youth's entire head. This gave others the false impression that the youth's head was blasted into smithereens first, and then his soul was blasted into smithereens. This way, no one would suspect that Murong was a soul cultivator. Go! After killing this 7th level Genesis Realm genius at lightning speed, Murong smashed through the void and charged straight ahead. There was an invisible barrier in front of him. This barrier was the last hurdle. Before rushing to this barrier, Murong had already used the hand seal he learned on Dao Comprehension Planet. The huge hand seal fiercely imprinted on the invisible barrier, and the impact caused the barrier to tremble violently. Then a crack was torn open. Murong took a step forward and charged into that crack. On the other side, Yu Huffing wasn't slow either. He was even faster than Murong and entered the barrier first. When Murong attacked and killed that 7th level Genesis Realm genius, he had already used his hand seal. Bastard! Only when Murong's figure disappeared outside did those people react, and they all cursed. They all used their hand seals and chased after him. There were really many people who had purposely waited outside for Murong to appear. There was only one reason, and that was to kill Murong. However, they didn't expect Murong to be so eye-catching and didn't stay outside for long at all. Do you think you'll be safe after entering the Rong clan? Some people laugh coldly. Murong, you can't escape. Wait for my challenge. You want to challenge him? Wait for me to challenge him first. I'm afraid you won't have a chance. Someone laughed coldly and chased after him. Chapter 2098. Killing was forbidden in the territory of the Rong family. Once discovered, one would be immediately disqualified from participating in the Rong family's meeting of heroes, or even killed on the spot. Therefore, no matter how much these people wanted to kill Murong, no one dared to attack Murong without permission. Otherwise, they would be courting death. However, they couldn't attack without permission, but there was a legal way to deal with Murong, challenge him. As long as they were in the ring, and no one outside the ring interfered. Then, they could fight to the death in the ring. Now, many people were planning to challenge Murong-yu in the ring and strive to kill Murong-yu in the ring. Even before Murong-yu had time to walk to the residence arranged for him by the Rong family, he had already received a stack of challenge letters. This made Murong-yu quite depressed. Was Qingwan really that attractive? She had already become someone's wife, but she was still so powerful. These people are really idiots. So what if they kill you? Do they even have the chance to be in Qingwan's eyes? In Qingwan's eyes, their actions are simply a joke. Yu Hufeng sneered disdainfully. Among the people who challenged Murong-yu, all of them were Qingwan's pursuers. However, only a small number of people could be said to know Qingwan and have a little friendship with her. Most of them had nothing to do with Qingwan. If one had to say that they were related, it would be that they were all pursuers. Like Yu Hufeng, although Qingwan was the goddess in his heart, he had no relationship with her at all. Their goal was very simple. They hoped to kill Murong-yu in order to attract Qingwan's attention, and it would be best if they could enter Qingwan's heart. Even if it didn't work, they would have the right to pursue Qingwan again after killing Murong-yu. In fact, what they didn't know was that Murong-yu was not Qingwan's man at all, but her enemy. Of course, even if they knew the truth, they would still resolutely challenge Murong-yu. Because defeating Murong-yu was equivalent to helping Qingwan take revenge, it would also attract Qingwan's attention. There are already dozens of challengers, right? Murong-yu, what's your plan? Yu Hufeng muttered beside Murong-yu. Murong-yu only smiled. Then, with a shake of his hand, the letters of challenge in his hand were all shattered into powder. That's my answer. Yu Hufeng was stunned. You don't want to fight any of them? That's what a coward does. Am I a coward? Murong-yu looked at Yu Hufeng in confusion. Yu Hifeng quickly shook his head. Murong-yu was a true warrior. He was brave and smart. Most importantly, he was a pervert. How could he be considered a coward? Isn't that it? Moreover, whether or not I'm a coward is not something that can be proven here. Big Brother Murong. Right at this moment, a heavenly voice filled with boundless surprise sounded from the front. At the same time, a figure pounced over, bringing with it a fragrant scent. In the end, under Yu Hufeng's dumbfounded gaze, the newcomer leaped into Murong-yu's arms. What's going on? I'm clearly slightly more handsome than Murong-yu, but why is it that his charm is always greater than mine? Yu Hufeng was hurt again. Murong-yu's radiance was far too dazzling. Beside him, a prodigy like Yu Hufeng was practically a firefly. No, fireflies could still emit light. He was like a bedbug that was directly ignored by others. Murong-yu's expression darkened. The person who had leaped into his arms was none other than the young miss of the Rong family, Rong Zhuo. At this moment, Rong Zhuo was already different from before. She had the strength of a mid-tier Genesis tier. Moreover, due to the increase in her cultivation level and strength, Rong Zhuo's aura had also improved. Even if she was slightly inferior to Qingwan, she was still a devastatingly beautiful woman. Whoosh, countless murderous gazes immediately landed on Murong-yu. This time, apart from the prodigies who had come to participate in the gathering of heroes, even the cultivators of the Rong family were glaring angrily at him. Young people, Murong-yu couldn't help but shake his head. Meanwhile, Rong Zhuo didn't seem to know what had happened. She had already begun chattering away in Murong-yu's arms. In the end, Murong-yu managed to grab hold of her and push her away. However, Rong Zhuo still hugged one of Murong-yu's arms excitedly. Big Brother Murong, I thought you weren't coming. I've been waiting for you for so long. I finally get to see you today. This is wonderful, Rong Zhuo said joyfully. Haha, I heard there are great benefits to participating in your Rong family's gathering of heroes. How can I not participate? Murong-yu replied with a smile. This bastard. I really want to kick him to death. Not only has he harmed Qingwan, he's even come to harm the first young miss of the Rong family. Is Rong Zhuo going to be stuck in Murong-yu's dung again? The people in the surroundings cursed inside. If it weren't for the fact that they still had some manners, they probably would have directly leapt out and cursed at Murong-yu. Of course, this was because they were in the Rong family. If it were anywhere else, they would have thrown a punch at Murong Yu long ago. However, Murong Yu directly ignored them. It was not like gazes could kill, so what was he afraid of? Big brother Murong, I heard you married Kuching Wan? Rong Zhuo suddenly asked. Murong Yu. Before Murong Yu could reply, a voice that seemed to be filled with anger rang out in their ears. Looking towards the source of the voice, Murong Yu saw a beautiful person walking over leisurely. However, her expression was rather ugly. Kuching Wan, your big brother Murong's wife. How can you behave like this? Other than the fact that you're a little stronger, I really don't see anything good about you. You're a far cry from Sister Jiqing and the others. Sister Jiqing is more than 10 times prettier than you. Rong Zhuo was angry when she saw Kuching Wan. Rong Zhuo was full of complaints. Kuching Wan was dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? Murong Yu's wife was prettier than her? How is that possible? There were only 1 or 2 people in the Milky Way who were more or less the same as her. However, those 2 could not possibly be Murong Yu's wives. Also, why was the eldest daughter of the Rong family so close to Murong Yu? What was her relationship with Murong Yu? I already knew this kid was up to no good. He's so slippery. One look, and you can tell he's a playboy. Sigh. I'm afraid the eldest daughter of the Rong family has been deceived by him. Kuching Wan thought to herself, then said, Sister Rong, this guy is not a good person. You're not a good person. Your whole family is not good people. How dare you speak ill of Big Brother Murong? Big Brother Murong, you'd better divorce her. I don't think she wants to be your wife at all. Murong Yu stared at Rong Zhuo, dumbfounded. Was this still the Rong Zhuo he knew who was easily embarrassed? Wasn't this contrast a little too big? If you're willing, I don't mind being your wife. At the end, Rong Zhuo added shyly. Thud! Yu Hufeng stumbled and fell to the ground. He really did not understand. Was Murong Yu really that charming? The eldest daughter of the Rong family was deeply loved by Lord Tianming. After all, Rong Zhuo's aunt was Tianming's wife. Moreover, Tianming did not have any children yet. Outsiders guessed that one day, Rong Zhuo would receive Tianming's inheritance. Under Tianming's nurturing, she would have a chance to become a celestial realm existence. She was the same as Kuching Wan, one of the people with the greatest hope of breaking through to the celestial realm. If they could marry Rong Zhuo, it would be the same as marrying Kuching Wan. As a result, Rong Zhuo was also the target of many male cultivators. However, because of Rong Zhuo's soul, others could not get close to her at all. After her soul was healed by Murong Yu, she was brought back to the Rong family. Then, in a short amount of time, she broke through from the high-tier Insight realm to the mid-tier Genesis realm. This cultivation speed was quite terrifying. It's over. 2 beautiful flowers have been planted in the cow dung that is Murong Yu. The surrounding male cultivators howled madly in their hearts. Kuching Wan was also stunned. Her thoughts were similar to Yu Hufeng's. I'm not his wife at all. He was never my husband. Kuching Wan said through gritted teeth. Don't talk nonsense. Who in the entire Milky Way star field doesn't know that your husband is Big Brother Murong? Let me tell you, Big Brother Murong Yu is very powerful. It's definitely your good fortune to be able to become his wife. Rong Zhuo glanced shyly at Murong Yu, then said with a red face, I can't even be his wife if I want to. Murong Yu's face darkened. The matter between him and Kuching Wan had already caused an uproar in the city. This matter was nothing. After all, it was Kuching Wan who wanted to harm him first. However, Rong Zhuo, he did not want to affect her reputation. After all, she still had to marry in the future. Moreover, if the Rong family or even Tianming found out, would they slap him to death or force them to be together? As a result, he pushed Rong Zhuo away without a trace. Zhuo, I'll look for you tomorrow. I'm a little tired and need to rest. With that, he took a step forward and fled. Beauties! Seeing Murong Yu leave, Yu Hufeng wanted to go up and strike up a conversation with these 2 peerless beauties. If either of them took a liking to him, he would have a meteoric rise. However, Rong Zhuo and Kuching Wan did not even look at Yu Hufeng. They drifted away. Heavens, hurry up and send down a bolt of tribulation lightning to kill that freak Murong Yu. Yu Hufeng looked up at the sky and sighed. He was injured again. However, his words, coupled with the scene that had just taken place, were misunderstood by the others. A day later, a rumor about Murong Yu spread in the Rong family. Not only did Murong Yu like beautiful women, but he also liked both men and women. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.